Dylan turned into Adam Sandler over there.
One of them actually looked really good. I saw on Steam the other day. It was on sale. I was like, maybe I could be a Rooner.
Mooner? Mooner.
Sure.
It's the new Toad, like, I'm not gonna put this on the floor.
Captain Toad? What are you getting on?
He doesn't even know.
I actually
have my sunglasses on. It's gonna bother me more than bothers anyone else.
I did that me and Taylor did that last week.
This is a sign that I shouldn't put my glasses
Me and Taylor did that last week. I think they're so cool. Everyone always follows what the Wolf Order does, you know?
What?
We did this last week. Maybe you weren't there,
I
so it's fine. But you gave us shit for having glasses, and then you were going to start the cast of glasses.
That did happen.
We're trendsetters. No, you weren't.
Yeah, but you guys are all
You text us,
I always wanted to be
I
a
retired from the cast.
That is massive, by the way. That is like that's the way to
Thank
go.
you. Yeah, I was born with it.
You were born with lime slurping?
Oh, you're talking about the Slurpee. Yeah,
Whose hand is this? Yeah.
Yikes.
Cut the check, Faggy.
At the cheek.
Okay.
So, do you actually use a straw, or do you actually put your mouth with that thing?
Wow.
He's just setting me up for something.
I'm just generally curious.
Both.
Really?
Oh, use my mouth for that thing?
Yeah.
No, I'm not a fucking monster.
You have to use a fucking ladle to get that thing.
Yeah, you say you're not a monster. Do you see what you're drinking?
That's different. I can drink a lot.
That's
Doesn't
literally
mean I'm
Hulk. That's Hulk juice right there.
hit me up, big guy. And no, also
Sun's
because
getting real.
also the reason why I don't do that is because it just takes all the juice, like the water out, and none of the ice. So I tried before the cup. I was like, oh no. Move this back a little bit. All right, are we ready to go for episode? I will reveal to
180
Shh. We're not live yet.
Wow.
Sip it.
Oh, this is a demonic.
And you will sip it
in like 4 minutes. I couldn't finish that press conference.
Between 100 and 200.
You're very right. That's on point.
Hello,
He'll never get it.
Yikes.
Never.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the GeekVerse podcast, episode 186. I am the timeline fixin' trout snail.
This is tricky. There are so many good ones. You know, I am the. I've used it before. I'm gonna use it again. I am the. Can you help me out there, big guy Taylor Field?
Oh boy.
Give me a. I am the Vanisher, Dylan Musk.
Boom.
And I didn't have a name for this week.
Guy in the intro. There's so many things in this movie.
I know. I was thinking about too many of them.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't guessed, we are here to review Deadpool 2, one of the most anticipated movies of the year. Before we do that, let's get some housekeeping out of the way. In a few weeks, E3 will be right around the corner. Actually, no. E3 is right around the corner right now. In a few weeks, it'll actually be here, ready to go. We'll be doing conferences.
Unfortunately, it'll be over there, and we're going to talk about it over the internet.
Yeah, from your house or my house.
From our house. But not from E3's conference.
No,
unfortunately.
No. So for Saturday, Sunday, Monday, we will be doing a podcast for pretty much every conference. So stay tuned to that. We're going to be doing watch-alongs, so lots of fun going to be happening there. You're going to be getting 6 to 7 podcasts just in a weekend.
Too many.
So that's huge. Coming up next week, obviously, our solo review is going to be happening. So me and Taylor did a Cantina conversation with solo predictions and talked about canon and if it really mattered, yada yada yada. It doesn't, so check that out. And then Monday, a Rogue One commentary track will be dropping with Dylan, Taylor, and myself.
It was a fun one.
It was a fun one. If you want in-depth analysis on the movie,
don't watch it.
Not gonna get it. Not gonna get it. If you want a good time with some, online friends, that's what we're here for. And then I think Sunday, me and Jessica will be reviewing 13 Reasons Why Season 2. If you have any interest in that show, you should check out the review because Jessica might be one of the biggest fans in the world, and I'm one of the biggest haters of that show.
Yes.
So it should be interesting.
That should be a real battle. I'm excited to watch that cast.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm not excited to watch the show, but I am at the same time. And then I guess embargo's kind of up. We can congratulate Tyler Briggs for a successful title defense against Taylor Field.
Too easy.
Yeah, we're still looking at some stuff that a little fraudulent, especially that Sonic game. I think Jessica maybe hacked it a little bit, but are you ready for the future there, Briggs? Other future defenses?
Looking forward.
You do know that I have
yes.
you know I have a title rematch still down the line.
I do?
Yeah. But I'm not going to use that because this Sunday I'm going to beat the hell out of Kirkland Patzer. I'm going to show that little shit. Nobody disrespects me and get away with it. Sports titles online this Sunday. But you know what's happening? Not the Sunday. You know what's happening right now? This Deadpool 2 review.
DP.
Me and Dylan were talking about this last night. I think this is our first official sequel review as far as like we've done like Civil War Avengers, but really like from a 1 to a 2. Like I don't think we've done like. So is this another milestone?
Big milestone.
Another milestone I gotta show. I forgot. Thank you very much. Infinity War is officially our biggest episode of all time. Crazy. So I didn't think Last Jedi would be touched for a while.
In the great scheme of things, wouldn't Star Wars count as a sequel from Force Awakens to 7 to 8?
Okay, I'll give you that. I guess. No, you're right. He's right on that one.
He is right.
He's right, but from the future.
Yeah.
I started to get a little scared.
That little smirk. He's like, yeah, just
No, he's wrong. He's wrong. So if you've not ever listened to a GeekVerse review, we're gonna start with the non-spoilers.
First of all, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
We've been here for a while. So.
Yeah, we're coming on 3 years in August.
We are.
So nuts.
Ooh.
So if you have not tuned into this before, we're going to do non-spoilers. All of us are going to go around, give our thoughts, give some likes and dislikes, and we'll give you a warning before we jump into spoilers. And if you listen past that point, you've not seen the movie, then you are a fucking idiot. So I'm sorry. Unless you like that.
Unless it was your choice.
But I don't
Some
want
people
like
to
someone
be
to listen to
spoiled.
like, oh, spoilers. So
Yeah.
So who wants to start with Mr. Deadpool is back in action?
Tyler Briggs.
Boom.
Yeah, you read my mind.
I did.
I wanted to start. So wow, what a sequel. I think for me, it's a tough one. I've been deliberating over it very much over these past 12 hours.
Deliberation.
I was also sleeping a little bit, so maybe not quite 12 hours.
In your dreams when you had
Yeah,
a lot of time.
I don't think I dreamt about. I remember I dreamed quite not a lot, but
What'd you have a
like
dream
enough
about?
to know.
He has
that-
like a Tyler like angel and a Tyler like devil, and them they're like telling them why this is a good movie or why it's bad.
So there's a lot I liked about the movie. There's a couple things that were kind of off-putting in a way. Not enough to really take away from the movie a lot, but that kind of irked me a little bit.
Irked. Oof, that's a strong word.
Is it?
I
don't think it is.
I think from what you were describing, I thought it was like maybe a few minor complaints, but irk sounds like something not offend you, but you're like, oh, I really like irk to me is like you really didn't like.
I think if you were to say the movie irked me, then I would agree with you. But he just said a few things
Yes.
irked me, and there's so many.
Like the movie.
Yeah, and there are a couple things that I really didn't like, but
Okay.
they're fairly minimal.
Okay.
But I think for this one, I mean, you go watch it. I mean, it's a great film. Ryan Reynolds is great. I absolutely loved Josh Brolin's Cable.
Having a great year.
Absolutely amazing. That man should play more villains. And good guys, maybe. I don't know.
More of
He's just
everything.
being more of everything.
Yeah, I just want to see
He
more
should be
Josh
in a movie
Brolin.
where he plays every single
He
character.
should be in
That might
more.
happen.
Yeah, I don't know. It could happen.
Multiple man.
Yeah.
Recast
Josh
Franco.
Brolin.
Oh, doesn't even get the job yet. And they're
Wow.
recasting.
A lot of twists and turns.
Mhm.
I'll say that I did not expect the movie. I don't think I expected anything, like anything that happened was completely unexpected for me. So whatever you think is gonna happen in this movie, good luck. And I think it's different enough from the first one that it's hard to really directly compare the two. But there was still quite a bit that was similar, which I think it wasn't different enough that I think it almost hurt it a little bit, and that it tried to do something similar to the first one, which didn't work as well as it did in the first one. But overall, great film. I don't know. That's all I
That's all
got
you're
for
gonna
the
say?
opening statement.
Yeah, for myself, I agree with you that it didn't. I don't know. It was different than I was expecting, and what I guess I realized. I mean, I've been away, kind of preoccupied. I haven't really been thinking about a whole lot. I think I missed a trailer, and I didn't really watch any of the sketches either. So I kind of went in a little bit blind to it, but yeah, it definitely was different than my expectations, and I think it kind of reminds me of two other comic book movies. It reminds me of is Lego Batman and Guardians 2.
Guardians 2,
and like the kind of like the focus that the movie had in terms of like switching it from its first movie and kind of being more emotional and in similar ways as well. But I don't think I enjoyed it as much for that reason as much as I did Guardians 2 or Lego Batman for that matter. I still really enjoyed it, but most of my, I don't even want to call them problems, but I just...
Irks.
Irkings. Most of my I guess I just wasn't really that into it in the first like 20 minutes, half an hour. One reason is just like a couple of the choices they made. I'm not going to spoil those right now. And another one, I think the humor, and particularly in the start of the movie, was just a lot of references to things I just didn't get. like things I just
Fair enough.
things
I've
I
heard
haven't
people
seen,
say- yeah.
and so I think that's the reason why I wasn't really finding
Yeah.
stuff very funny.
And I'll back that up by there's a lot of times in our theater where, like, as someone who's a loud laugher, I end up being the only one laughing.
Yeah.
And I'll talk on spoilers, but there's you weren't
Just
the only one.
references to like actors or other movies, you know.
And it's not even this is not even a big spoiler. At one point they make like a really in-depth joke about Rob Liefeld, who's the guy who created Deadpool. He's a comic book co-writer and illustrator. You don't know that unless you read it, and it's a really specific one too. And I found they went for that a lot more in this one.
They did.
A lot more like almost jokes for
I
them
was
almost.
surprised because I think in the first movie, like every joke, is
Pretty
pretty understandable
mainstream,
by most people. Like there really isn't a whole lot of like obscure references, at least from my anecdotal perspective of the movie, I guess. But yeah, the last half of the movie I really enjoyed, and I think is kind of at the standard that the first one was at, and I enjoyed it as much. But there is just those things at the start that kind of took me out of it. There's some really amazing scenes and moments in this movie that I'm really happy they went for. Just some really, crazy shit as you would expect. I think the use of fourth wall jokes and humor is really well done again. So overall, yeah, it's a really fun movie. A lot of really good action as well. I like some of the new characters like Cable and Domino. Domino I was kind of hoping for a little more. I think the character was a little more basic than I was hoping for. Maybe they'll dive into it more if they ever make a Deadpool 3. I'm sure.
Well, the plan is they're doing an X-Force movie next. It's the actual plan.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
It's up in the air right now because of Disney, but the plan was do 2 Deadpools and then the X-Force with all 3 of them, and then some more, and
Well, I think as far as an intro for the character, I still really enjoyed it. And then, Cable definitely stand out. I'm really excited to see more of that character. And such a, just like visually and like a good developed story, good intro, scary, everything you'd want from a character that Cable's supposed to be. So, yeah, overall, I would definitely recommend it. I think go see it for sure. Off to Taylor.
Taylor, notorious hater of the first movie.
Really?
I'm just
Really?
joking.
Yeah, I was also surprised. I'm like, whoa.
No, I
You
love
just
that.
chose not to see it in
I don't think I know a
theaters.
single
did see it in
person who
theaters.
hated Deadpool 1.
Whoever's running DC right now.
Okay. Who is running DC?
They don't even know. They've changed like presidents in the past three times this year. So
Right.
I don't know. Ben Affleck.
And Zack Snyder.
No, I don't get me wrong, like the first movie I love the first movie, but this one, it's definitely not up there with me.
Wow.
I think it nailed a lot of great things. It did some awesome like things for the story and everything and the characters, but a lot of the time I didn't find myself really, really laughing. I enjoyed the movie as far as, I could, the action sequences and development and such, it pulled me in, but like you had touched on, a lot of the jokes I didn't fully, I didn't get or didn't find them too funny, and it felt too much, which I'll get more into spoilers, but it felt too much like something I've already seen with the first Deadpool, I should say.
Really?
Yeah, there were just as it was progressing, there were things, and the way the sequences were going, I'm like, okay, well, we've already got this with the first Deadpool multiple times throughout the movie as I was watching it, and it kind of let me down because I was hoping for them not to do that and they would really change it up, which they did with a lot of things, but with those changes, there were still so many similarities.
You have to express in spoilers because I feel like the plot of this movie is quite different, and it's not like when people look at Force Awakens, New Hope, they're like, well, look how this goes, and it's pretty parallel. Where I don't feel like this, other than one portion of the movie, is parallel to the first one at all. I feel. So,
I'll cover more in the spoilers.
Actually, no, you won't. We're not gonna talk about it.
Oh, rats.
Wow. Travis, you're feeling really giddy today, aren't you?
Oh yeah.
Throwing lots of
Are you done then?
jokes.
Is that what that was?
Am I done?
Yeah. Like your overall.
I'm
looking for a yes or no. Your hands don't talk.
I'm actually kind of confused by that.
Because we also do have listeners, people that don't watch.
Oh,
so.
right.
Taylor forgets about that every cast. How do you forget about that?
So that's why I constantly am asking you, are you
Single
done? Are you done? And you're just doing fucking magician hands or jazz hands. Oh.
Jazz hands.
Mind freak.
So clearly for you, it's not better. It's not on par with the first one. Would you still recommend it?
I would say, as a fan of comics and everything, if you are, and a fan of superheroes, anti-heroes, villains, Josh Brolin, you should go and watch this movie.
Not Deadpool.
Not
just-
Ryan Reynolds.
yeah. Not the main character.
Oh, you?
All you.
Okay, all me. So, this is a movie that I never really worried about. Like Guardians 2, I was always worried about. This one I never worried about because it's the same writers and they got Ryan Reynolds and like they got it. The first 10 minutes of this movie, I was scared shitless. I'm not getting the spoilers, but like, I was really worried we were getting a Hangover 2 where everything felt very, very similar. And I was like, oh man, they're doing the classic sequel thing. I'm not sure if that's their way of tipping the nod to the viewers, or they're like, oh, we're gonna do that every movie, or they're just fucking with us and they on purpose wanted to make someone like me think, oh man, it's gonna be bad. After that, like these guys have touched upon, I feel like it keeps the essence of the first movie, but it's very different and it's a lot more darker and dramatic than I thought it was going to be. Even though the first movie, because I rewatched it the night before, it has some dark stuff, especially at the beginning with cancer and everything like that. Like they don't make lighthearted of that. Like they take that really serious. But this movie, it took a turn that I was not expecting and I quite enjoyed. I don't think it's as funny as the first one, but for me that's not a knock because I did feel it was more emotional and there was more moments that had me. And there's a moment in this movie where I didn't cry. Classic trust, for once I didn't cry. But like, there's some moments where I fart. I fart.
You farted.
Yeah.
I was sitting next to you, didn't smell it.
No,
So good job.
thank God, no. There was heartfelt moments going on and moments that I didn't think were going to happen in a Deadpool movie. And the other thing I didn't think was going to happen, because the first one, for people that don't read the comics, Deadpool has that side where, oh, chimichanga is all this fun, but he's a super dark, depressed character who lots of time hates himself and hates his life. Like, if you've read, like, a couple years ago, like, The Death of Deadpool, like, that's a really dramatic and, like, emotional story. And it always comes out of these weird spurts where it's super comedic, but then something will remind him of, like, oh, like, his life is still kind of shit, right? And they tackle that a lot in this movie. Like, there's many times where he does not really want to be Deadpool, you know? Where in the first movie, it's like, yeah, he's had this tough go-around, but at the end of the day, it's still he's having a good time, he's having joyous, and he still does that, but they kind of acknowledge that he sometimes uses that because he's in pain. Like, he uses his humor to try and push his way through life. And I really applaud how they tackle that in this movie. I loved Cable. I loved Domino. I think I agree that you could have used them a bit more, but at the same time, it's hard for me to say that because if X-Force is coming, it kind of reminds me of Guardians 2, where it's like, well, we got more Nebula and that worked and more Gamora. So I'll wait to hold off because the movie's still technically Deadpool 2, right? So you don't want them to hijack it. So I thought this was good introductions to them. There's some really fun surprises, which we'll talk about. And the humor for me really worked. And like I said, I think there was some really inside baseball stuff, which I'm excited to talk about. But I loved it, and like I'm definitely on the minority. I like this one better than the first one because for me, two reasons. One is because I knew his origin story. So the first movie, literally half the movie is his origin story, and I just wanted to get to him being Deadpool because I know the story, I know how it goes.
Yeah.
And that's why I understand that's just for me. But then on the second,
Well, plus we talked about the first movie, how like in that weird testing place, whatever it is, like it's kind of low budget and
Very
it wasn't
low
really
budget.
that exciting.
Weapon X. So
Yeah.
And this was just, I got more of what I loved. I love Cable. I love Deadpool. But like Deadpool is throughout this whole movie. There's not any. The first movie at times I still love it. I gave it 10/10. I just sometimes felt I was waiting to get back to Deadpool. It never feels like this. Like this movie's in your face. It's brutal. It's brunt. It's brunt.
Brunt.
It's brunt. I just made that word up. It's whatever that is. That's what this movie.
GeekVerse trademark.
But it's just like a chews dirt and spits in your face. Like it's so raunchy and it has no apologies for what it is. Like they know what they're making and they just go for it. Like there's lines in this that you could, for some people, like take you out of the immersion of the movie. But I feel they use the humor and the fourth wall breaking perfectly, and it never ruins stuff. Like they'll point stuff out happening, but it's like I still feel the stakes in this movie. I still feel the great acting, the great writing going on. So. Yeah, I'm probably in the minority. I'm not even sure how most people feel, but I like it more than the first one just because I enjoyed it a bit more, and I liked the emotional elements we got in this movie, and I'm excited to talk about it in the spoiler fashion. So, do we have anything else non-spoilers?
I think not.
Then we're getting to spoiler territory. Okay, no, go ahead.
Before we go into spoilers, I just want to say, I know I don't want to like. You know, if you're how do I even say this? I don't think I can say it actually.
Great soundtrack, non-spoilers. So throw that out. You listen to
man, there were some soundtrack for me was there were some absolutely wonderful moments that I absolutely loved, and then there were moments where I was like, I don't like this at all.
Yeah, I know which ones for you guys. Anything that was pop or rap, Tyler and Dylan are checking out.
Anything you can add to my list dubstep because I don't like dubstep.
Well, it is for pussies.
That's not necessarily the reason, but
It's true.
sort of correct.
I
I hate that you're right, but it's for the wrong reasons.
Did you figure out a way to word your non-spoiler thing?
You can do it.
Not
Bruce.
really,
Oh.
but
No.
you know.
Another non-spoiler thing I'll throw out is I was surprised that I ended up still liking the kid, because when I saw the kid in the trailers, I was like, this could go really wrong. And I think they used
I thought
the
it would
kid
be very basic.
Yeah, and the kid acted a really good job too. Like for what he had to do, I just remember in the trailer being like, anytime you add a kid to stuff, it's a little murky in movies and TV. Like it can really take it down. So
Yeah, no, I don't worry about it. We can move on to spoilers.
then we're getting into spoilers. You know, you can start. Say
Yeah, well, I really want to hear at
yeah,
this point.
because you'll forget about what do you want to say now.
Oh, I was gonna.
So now, if you've not seen the movie, check out. Come back later. If you have, enjoy.
Enjoy.
I was just gonna try and make a joke about like talking about the X-Force and like how great like Shatterstar was as a standout too, because we were just only talking about Cable and Domino.
Oh, so you're just.
And I was
fuck
gonna
with-
try and make a joke with the people so that they think the X-Force is a bigger role, but then they're all dead.
You could have done that.
I know,
They're
but then
all
as soon
dead.
as I said it was spoiler related, I feel like I couldn't say anything more because then they know it's spoiler related. So I was gonna be like, Peter, you know, not that great. Shatterstar, big standout. You know,
Well-
great. He really just plays that role of just being a dick.
They did a good job with the marketing and making it look like that was a thing.
They
But
had Mr. X where literally there's a scene in the trailers of Shatterstar like with his swords fighting people.
yeah.
And it's like, you know, great.
See, I
Great
didn't
job.
even like remember anything from the trailer. Really,
Mhm.
I didn't even know.
I remember
I didn't know there. I
everything.
the remember there was a kid in this movie, and I didn't remember any of the
That's
X-Force.
crazy because I remember literally everything from trailers. And they like honestly like
Well, I don't know if I've actually seen like. I think I've only seen one trailer for this movie, and
that
it was
could
like
also
the
be-
first one that came out.
Because
a
one
while
trailer
ago.
was really X-Force heavy. It was all about like meeting the team and everything like that, and meeting Peter.
and there was like clips of each of the X-Force like doing something, fighting
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, I don't know if I've actually seen that trailer, perhaps. So
Yeah, that
that's cool.
I like that they did that marketing. Dylan can attest that. I knew they were gonna kill them off right when they were doing such a big, and they kept talking about the fucking win, and I was like, they brought this
I
up
thought that
way-
was just gonna be an ongoing joke.
Oh
or
no!
something.
Like that's brought
Which it
up
was,
to way
but-
too much, and just because the reason why too, I'm like, okay, so you got Terry Crews, and then you got Bill Skarsgård, who's
You know,
like,
I was thinking.
like they're all bigger people. I'm like, no, like there's something fishy about like the way it is happening, and then like
Tom Cruise.
yeah, much like the movie will be
Not
all
Tom
over.
Tom Cruise.
Brad Pitt is a
Brad
Vanisher?
Pitt. Yeah.
What?
Did you not know that? It was
No, as soon as he popped up and he got fried, I'm sitting there, I'm like, is that Brad Pitt?
Yeah.
No, that wouldn't be Brad Pitt.
That's why
And
everyone was laughing.
I forgot to look in the credits, actually.
Mm.
I don't think he was credited.
Yeah, he was.
Oh,
As the
was it
Vanisher,
really?
Vanisher Brad Pitt.
Oh.
Yeah, no, apparently his kids are a big fan. And some story behind that was he was one of the people that was talked about being Cable. We
Yeah.
don't know why it didn't happen, but he's a big fan of the movie, and they called him up, and they did this thing. It took about, I guess, 4 to 5 hours or something. And
Yeah.
that was
45
like,
minutes actually. I think we were in the same
or
article.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's
you're-
literally like 45 minutes on
Yeah.
a green screen.
yeah, you're right. For 4 to 5 hours, how much do you need? But like, yeah, and then the other, and I guess we're just talking about these cameos. You know, we'll just start with the cameos.
Well,
We're already
I'm
talking
glad
about
we're
them.
talking this because I think that was my standout moment of the movie. Actually, I love that sequence where they introduce all
Yeah.
these characters, have these auditions. All of them are just crazy over the top.
And the
they
audition
fucking
scenes are
kill them
funny
all.
too. Like,
I
just like,
love the-
is the Vanisher here? Yeah, he is. Actually, I don't know if he is here.
I think he's
Like,
running.
yeah, like,
He's getting out of here.
all their setups and everything, and then like I even liked, because that was the other thing with Domino. That scene, that's why I liked her. That scene with the yes no could have been really lame and cheesy for me. I really liked it, and that's the thing like
that was really
Zazie Beetz, who I've not seen in anything. I just know she's in Atlanta, and a lot of people say she's great on that. She, to me, I like tweeted it, like she just charms her pants off in the movie. Like she's so charismatic. Like she reminds me of almost like a female like Will Smith at times. Just the way she was like delivering lines, and they felt natural. And that yes and no thing, it went on for a while, but I was still laughing every time.
Yeah.
Many times in movies, stuff like that will be like, okay, I get it. Like this is, I get what you're going for. But everything she delivered,
I agree.
worked.
Like even just the way she like walks around and stuff. Like it really truly felt like a. Like as much as I said that it is a very basic character, it was very consistent. Like all of it
Yeah.
made sense, and even I think her powers are really cool. I think that's like really unique and interesting, and
They
I
did
think it
lots of cool
shows in like
stuff with it.
in the way she just like will walk around and it just makes sense. She's not really scared of anything. 'Cause
Land
they
on
always
the
just go her way.
inflatable panda bear. Like,
Yeah.
if they,
Yeah.
like obviously she's gonna be more movies, but there's so much they could do with that in future films, and like that's where they make that joke of like they call it like the Black Widow. But up until I don't know, I got more, even though it was basic, I got more of a sense of her character than I have any of the MCU,
So,
like Black Widow,
one reason
Scarlet maybe now because Infinity War, but so many of
Yeah.
they're just kind of there, right? Like Maria Hill, like Sharon Carter, like okay maybe Peggy Carter, but other than that, like she stood out with even her limited screen time.
I think
she had.
one reason I say that is because near the end of the movie, when they go back to the that child mutant place, and she just like quickly says, "Oh, I grew up here," and it's just like dropped in like 1 second, and then they don't talk about it, and it's like, what? Like that's a pretty big thing to just like completely gloss over.
Same with Cable and his family. What's that? Oh, it's the bear of my dead daughter, and then they're alive. Like, oh, you're gonna go back? No, and it's like, okay, like I know he can't go back, but it's.
Well, I mean, at least with Cable, we got that intro scene where he was in the future.
It's still quick though. We only get those 2 scenes, and like I feel like
it is, but there's more than just like one line of dialogue for her entire backstory. So I didn't really. I think that's. I mean, they'll probably go into that more, but actually, I don't even know if they will because I think that was their only opportunity to do it.
Yeah. That place is gone.
That just felt kind of weird to me.
Yeah, fair enough. And then I guess because we were talking about that scene a little bit. I had a point and it's gone. I can't.
Well,
remember
what I'll say for the X-Force is I love Peter. I think that is a hilarious character to add in there, and every line he said was hilarious.
He was great, but I'm glad that he wasn't in the whole movie because I think it could have been overkill, and I was worried about
it's a joke that you just use like you talk like 3 or 4 jokes on it and then move on. But even like how he was one of the people in the post credits, like that's the one guy that Deadpool goes back and saves.
You go live your life, Peter. Yeah, and that's the thing. I think. Some of the humor I could tell like didn't hit with everybody, but I think with those big moments, the cameos, the surprise really worked. Obviously, Brad Pitt really worked because that was like literally an eye blinking moment. Like, yeah, I knew it was him, but it's still like, is that really him? The X-Men cameo is fantastic. That was so well done, and then it was.
I did not expect that.
No.
We talked a lot about like Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
And maybe would he not be? But I did not expect them to just have the whole crew in there.
Yeah.
It makes me sad that I don't know if those people will ever, have another X-Men movie.
Well, they got one next year, and that could be it.
Oh, I keep forgetting about Phoenix.
Yeah, Phoenix is coming.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Because that's how they filmed that scene. Is they filmed that on the set of Phoenix, and then they sent it over. So they were never on the same set. And again, after this movie, I'll ask you guys a question because I guess this is not so much about the movie. It is, but it's not in like a review form. It's almost like our news. After this, too, like, do you want them to do anything more as far as, like, you have Colossus, you have Juggernaut, do you want them always to keep, if let's say they keep making these Deadpool movies for a while, no Disney, him just to be by himself and not have any more mixtures of, like, would you want, like, a McAvoy to actually be in a movie, or, like, a Quicksilver? Like, that's the thing, because, like...
Because then they'll get recast? Is that what you're saying?
No, I mean, like, just if, let's say... the Disney thing doesn't happen, and they keep doing those, like, would you want to see other X-Men brought into this world? Because this movie is more popular now. The first one was like, oh, we're taking a risk, it's a small budget, but now, like, they're playing around, like, they're hinting, I don't think the Hugh Jackman thing will happen, but they're eye-winking at the X-Men thing, like, because we've talked about that before.
It's tricky because now you have to imagine that Cable and Domino are going to be, like, bigger parts in the rest of these Deadpool movies, unless... the X-Force thing takes off and they just kind of go off into that, and Deadpool returns to a solo thing. But there's already, like, T.J. Miller's character, I can't remember. Weasel. I really liked his character in the first movie, and I like all of his lines in this movie. I think he's the only character where, like, 100% of his lines were funny for me. But, like, he was barely in it, and I kind of wanted more of him, So there's already a lot of, like, even the taxi driver and
Melinda and Blind Al.
Blind Al, yeah. And then, like... this Yukio character, kind of funny, but like there's a lot of characters that don't really have any sort of development, so it's like, I don't know, maybe it'd be better to go into some of these characters instead of bringing in the X-Men, but I couldn't decline that Quicksilver because that's such a great Quicksilver that I'd be totally down for him to have a bigger role in a Deadpool movie.
Taylor, you've been quiet over there. What do you feel about these cameos or these big surprises? Anything jumping out to you?
Well, I didn't know it was Brad Pitt, so that's... I mean, I can confirm it now. So
it's not Tom Cruise? No.
Nope.
One day.
Terry Crews, I would have loved a little bit more from him.
That's what I was going to say earlier. Is I don't know why none of us picked him for the comic book hero draft. I feel like he's the perfect pick to be in a comic book movie.
Yep.
But I agree with you, Taylor. I did want more of him.
Or Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt wasn't on anyone's pick list?
No. And you would have won 2 points because another cameo, I'm not sure if you guys heard about this. So when Cable comes into, present day, and those 2 guys talking on the truck, one is Alan Tudyk, the guy who plays K2SO, like from Rogue One, and he does all the voice work. The other one is Matt Damon in prosthetics. the big
wow.
god.
I would have
Oh,
got
my
double
bad.
points.
It's when Cable knocks those two guys out and he steals
The
their
two
trucks like the two hillbillies.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
it's Matt Damon.
That's
So
Matt Damon.
He was in Thor Ragnarok.
Wow.
Matt Damon.
He was in
Oh
Thor
my
Ragnarok as
goodness.
Loki, and he was this, like, he's just going around making these cameos.
I did not know that was Matt Damon.
I didn't
He
hear
wasn't
what
the
it
one talking, right?
said. He was the one talking, yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
Didn't include
What a
that.
skilled actor.
Oh, yeah.
What a
He's
skilled actor.
Yeah, so
I don't
you,
even know it's him.
he
That's
was
how
on your
good he
honorable
is.
mentions. You would have got 2 points for
Oh, that would
that.
have been amazing.
No.
Oh, well.
Should have picked
2
them.
points, everyone else is 0.
I would have picked him.
But yeah, no, I think, Domino was fantastic. I loved her character. I loved her casual, charismatic kind of play throughout the whole film. The kid, I think, kids in these movies, I think they're doing great. I think they're really, like, bringing it for the audience and everything like that. Like, he was just, he was, like, an emotional teenager. He was just so, you liked him, he was a straight-up dick, I guess I should say. Cable
I mean, he's
was-
got his reasons. I wouldn't say
He
he's a
does have-
straight up dick. I'd say he's maybe a semi-justified dick.
a semi-justified.
Semi dick. Yeah.
Let's see, there was
You were on
Peter.
Cable.
I was on Cable, yeah. So Cable was fantastic. I think, Josh Brolin is just nailing it as these villain roles and
Nailing
everything.
Is Cable a villain though? I feel like he's just like, you
started
could say
as
he's
a
an
villain.
antagonist, but like at the end of the year, if we're doing Golden Geeks, we wouldn't put him in the villain category,
No.
right?
No.
So that's why I can't really call him a villain. I think he's an antagonist. He's in Deadpool's way, but he is fighting for
I
his
agree with
family,
Taylor though
right?
that he's kind of portrayed and he plays like a villain, at least for like half the movie. So,
Yeah.
in terms of Josh Brolin playing a villain,
I mean, even
in
at
this
the end,
movie,
he's still
also
willing to kill a
success.
kid.
this is
That's
true.
true.
Yeah, but if
But
that
that's a
saves,
semi-justified dick of a kid.
yeah, but
so.
if that saves the world, one life for a billion, sometimes you gotta make those sacrifices.
Great wig.
I don't know, I kind of, like, yes, he is, obviously, he plays, spoiler alert, Thanos, not really spoiler.
It's not spoiler. They announced the cast before the movie came out. They make a joke. That's not a spoiler.
Thanos for years.
No, but I think that, when you look at Thanos, there were things that, he was obviously trying to get the Infinity Stones,
I
obviously.
mean, Thanos also a semi-justifiable dick.
I'd say less so, but
Leslie
that's
justified.
that's
His-
another
his
conversation.
Still
reasons-
semi, though.
His reasons for being a villain, it was more or less a point of view.
Okay,
and-
let's not spoil the Infinity War.
No, I'm not.
Please.
But like in relation,
How
there were
feels so
moments
good.
where you could see the relation between him and Cable, where, there's something that could stop them from completing their goal, possibly. And with Cable, he was a villain up until the end, but it wasn't until a certain event, with
You're
Deadpool.
being really careful with your words.
I am. There wasn't until a certain event that
We're in
it
spoilers
kind
for
of
Deadpool. You can say that event.
yeah. It was at the orphanage and he was about to kill the kid,
Mhm.
but Deadpool ended up dying, so then
Sacrifices.
sacrificed himself. So it made him, use his time changer thing and kind of change the event. So I feel like, he was still a bad guy up until that point, but he let, compassion or something like that change it, because he was like Thanos. They're doing it for their own point of view, their own perspective.
See, I don't even know he's a bad guy at
The
that
Jedi
point because
people.
Deadpool is like he's still like, give me 30 seconds, and if I don't get it done, you can kill the kid. So it's like then Deadpool's still kind of like a little bad. Then I don't know if I buy it once he gets into Deadpool's apartment. I don't buy him as a villain anymore because he's working with them. He's hearing them out. He's like, okay, I'll give you a chance to save the kid. Like where like. I don't want to get into maybe other Marvel movies where that villain's not going to give anybody a chance to save any kid,
I would still say, he is, because he was ready to kill the professor, the old professor dude or whatever.
Which guy?
He said, like, well, what did he say? Like,
The guy who runs the place.
Yeah, the guy who runs the place. He said he'd be willing to kill the guy or whatever. Like,
Well,
he's
yeah, but that guy's a piece of fucking shit.
Deadpool's willing to kill him.
Yeah,
Everyone's
that's a
willing to
lot different than like
he's
Darkbender killed him.
Yeah.
I don't think that guy levels up this guy who's torturing kids.
no, but the point up to where he gets to the house or whatever. I still feel like the only reason he was there again, he still wanted to kill the kid. He was listening to Deadpool's proposal, giving him 30 seconds, even though he was hesitant on it. He was there only because Juggernaut was getting in the way, and he needed the assistance. But he was still willing to push Deadpool aside. Who's to say, like, if they did make that agreement or whatever, or even with the fact that they did, Juggernaut got taken out, Colossus didn't show up. Who's to say Cable didn't actually go through with it? I mean, Cable went through with it all the way up until the point Deadpool sacrificed himself. Even after he kept giving him 30 seconds, he was still the villain in that sense.
I
The
think you're
intention
still
was
right.
fully
I think you're
Yeah.
still right, but I don't know if I make him a villain because it's classic Terminator where he's doing something bad, or like Looper, but at the end of the day, if he kills this kid, he saves like millions of lives. So it's like where other villains are doing things that are costing people millions of lives just because like I think this is right. Where like Cable's actually seen what happens, right? Like another villain might be projecting and being like, this is what's gonna for sure happen.
Yeah.
Where Cable's like, no, I've actually seen my family scorched to death.
Yeah, I think Cable is portrayed as a villain up until the point that you get more information on his backstory and like you see like the future and
Hope
like
Summers.
he talks about the future and that kid. Well, he was about to burn down that whole place and kill like 100 kids.
Yeah.
You know, 1 kid for 100. Cable's
Yeah,
a good guy. He's doing God's work.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure if they even made that specific for you guys. Do you guys know that Cable is the son of Cyclops?
Nope.
Okay, there you go. So yeah, what happens is, for people that don't know, he has a kid with Madame Pryor, who is a clone of Jean Grey. It's a long story, but they have a kid, and then
Scandalous.
someone to mess with this kid gives Cable as an infant something that's called a techno-organic virus, and the only way they can save that is the technology in the future, so they take their baby and send it to the future, so he grows up without his dad or anything like that. But technically he is Cyclops' son, cool. So yeah, stuff that they didn't really get into, and I don't know if they ever will.
I don't think they needed to.
No, but just a fun fact.
That's probably just bogged down with...
What was the joke that they laid on him, the guy with the Winter Soldier arm? Is that what they said?
Yeah, it's definitely a joke.
One of them.
Well, I wasn't sure the exact wording of it, but
I think he just...
You got the gist of it.
Yeah, I think he just...
Delivery wasn't as good as Deadpool's, but
Definitely
you
not.
got the joke. It's the same joke.
Just the way you finger gunned me, I thought it was something really deep and specific, but like I'm like, I feel like everyone's on...
specific.
Well, no, when because he looked...
Finger gun means deep and specific.
He looked me right in the eyes, and he's like, and whenever he does that, it's like, oh, he has to ask me something specifically for me, but he's like, that Winter Soldier. And it's like, well, I feel like Dylan and Tyler also understood the Winter Soldier joke, you know, so...
We have seen Winter Soldier.
I do know who Bucky is.
Yeah.
The White Wolf.
Bucky Barnes. Whoa. Spoilers.
Yeah, that's from Black Panther. If you haven't seen Black Panther yet,
It's on
go
DVD.
see Black Panther.
It's on, yeah.
I watched it on a plane. You
It's
can
on
watch it.
DVD already?
Yeah.
So I want to talk about, because clearly, I guess it's a tie. Two things I want to talk about. I'm going to talk about my big con, and then I'm going to go into what my talking point was. What I was worried about was when the film started, and it's him trying to kill himself, and then he's like, oh, why am I here? Well, let's go back in time. And they go back in time, and then he's like stabbing everybody, and when he stabs the guy, it goes slow motion, like, oh, you thought this was a superhero movie. It's like, oh, no, this is a movie about family. Like, the opening is like identical to the opening of the first one, and that's had me really worried, because I thought they were just going to do the exact same movie over again. That's why I'm trying to transition into what you were talking about earlier. But then I felt like it took a complete turn when they killed Vanessa off, which, listen to our original review, I predicted that, because they're not going to do a Deadpool movie with a love interest. Come on now. They did that once already. There's so much...
But he went back and saved her.
I know, but I think the thing is, I think now with X-Forces, they can be another country and just like, oh, Vanessa's at home doing her stuff now, right? I just think that Deadpool himself, like, it's tough to have a love interest with him when he's going off doing all these shenanigans. Like, they gotta get rid of her. So, I don't know, we'll talk about it later. I don't know if I like that they brought her back, but either way, I felt that once they killed her off and they did the great James Bond opening credits,
That was phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
Celine on Ashes.
Yeah, I felt like the movie went completely different than what Briggs was talking about. Like, I felt the whole time I was unexpected where we were going to go. Like, I knew Colossus was going to be in it, but I didn't think there'd be this mini arc of him being an X-Men trainee for like half an hour. Like, I didn't think that was going to happen. And I liked the way the prison break scene went, and then I liked the way that he recruited the team, and then other than I'd give you maybe the finale, where the finale is a big fight with a bunch of bad guys, I think the movie does not follow, like, the first movie is like he falls in love, then he's in a facility, and then he's becoming Deadpool, and then he's trying to find Vanessa, and then it's that big fight. Like, I feel like the movie's completely laid out differently, and even from tone-wise, like, the stuff where he is having these visions about dead Vanessa, and they're having these deep conversations, that's what I thought was ballsy, because I thought that could really not play in this type of movie and be too dramatic or too emotional, and I thought they pull off great. And those scenes actually are why I like it more than the first one, because I thought those scenes were great, and they actually gave Deadpool, like, some... He had heart in the first movie, but this felt like even more so heart. That they could have easily just went for more, oh, we're just going to be even more funny now, you know? But they still didn't lose track of we got to make him an emotional character.
I guess for me, the kind of parallels that I know is like, yes, absolutely, the first intro sequence absolutely was just like the first one.
Yeah.
And then moving on after that, it just seemed like, yes, he was talking about, you know, before we get to this point, I'm going to show you what happened, and then it gets to the point where something tragic happens in his life, and then it continues forward where he's obviously trying to recover from that and deal with it and progress further and build up. And then it gets to the point where, oh, he's at it again. He's driving up and he's recruiting, you know, the team or his heroes to go and take down the bad guy.
He didn't recruit anybody in the first movie, though.
Yeah, he went to go and get Cyclops and the girl whoever from the school.
You mean Colossus?
Colossus,
yeah, okay, I'll give you that.
It felt like
I'll
that
give you the
again.
ending, but like when you're saying about like, oh, there's a tragedy that happens, there is in the first one, but that is about him trying to overcome that and get Vanessa back. Where this one, he says multiple times in the movie, like, I'm ready to go, like, I'm ready to die. Like, you're seeing a Deadpool who's just given up, and then eventually he goes, oh, I gotta...
No,
someone needs to
think-
be here for that.
I think
Talking...
Well, yeah, well, I'm just going to say, I think my core difference is the first movie is a very basic story, and it's kind of like cookie cutter, really.
Gotta get the girl
Yeah,
back.
very fundamental story. This one, like, takes a very strange path, and I think it is quite a bit different, like, type of story than the first one. The only thing that really keeps them tied to each other is that everything in these movies is like tied to humor. Like, obviously that's such a big part of it that you have that consistently, and maybe that's why it's confused for me, because I think the pacing for the first half, maybe half an hour, 45 minutes of the movie was a little off, and I wasn't really too stoked when they got to the prison. I was like, I don't really want to see this. I was kind of like, I feel like I saw this in Guardians. I guess it was a few years ago, but I don't know, I felt like a lot of things
Prison cliche happens quite a bit in just movies in general.
It does, but I don't know, I wasn't really too excited to see that.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, I think the pacing was what was kind of weird. Like, I don't think that whole 6 weeks storyline, like, oh, let's go back, I don't know, I think I would have liked to see a different start of the movie. Maybe it's still tied with, we'll talk about Vanessa thing later, but I don't like what they did with that character.
Really?
And how they chose to tie that with the story. So I think the first half of the movie was just kind of jumbled and in a weird order, and could have been sorted out a bit better pacing wise.
Do you think there's a chance?
But I think it is a different like type of storytelling.
Do you think there's a chance at the very beginning of the movie when they do the whole like, oh, let's go back in time? I still feel like there's a chance they almost did it on purpose to mess with you, to make you think it's going to be the same movie, because that would be a very
I think
meta thing.
I think
for
a
them
lot
to
of this
do.
movie is subverting your expectations.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's because I didn't watch any of the trailers really, but I was expecting kind of a rerun of the first movie, a very basic story, and just lots of humor that it doesn't matter this basic story because you're laughing the whole time through anyway, so you don't notice.
I think this story is still pretty basic, except for like the actual just main story of he has to save this kid, right? Like that's very basic, but I think it's the new characters they add that add the levels, and that's where I'm excited to talk about the Vanessa thing. I think what they add with like kind of his emotional journey and finding another reason to live is added. Where like, yeah, he has that reason, but literally the reason in the first movie is just to get the girl back. It's not an emotional reason, it's just he loves this girl, he has to get her back. Briggs, what do you think about it? Because I want to talk about the Vanessa thing next, but I want to...
I think as far as pacing goes, which what Dylan mentioned there, I think it was very all over the place for me. Some parts were alright, but I think a lot of the pacing for me just wasn't that great. It felt...
was it throughout the movie for you, or just the first half? Like
almost all the way up until the final act, I
Wow.
would say. Just because a lot of it, there were some parts where it's like supposed to be kind of like high, intense action, but I felt kind of burnt out at that point, and like I wasn't as into it as I was supposed to be. And then some of the slower moments, it just didn't feel like it was in the right spot. So for me, the pacing was kind of all over the place. And as far as the story goes, I agree with Dylan too. Like I didn't really like at all what they did with Vanessa.
Wow.
And a lot of the emotional stuff, I didn't really like. It was good enough. Like I'm not saying it took a lot away from the movie, but I wasn't a huge fan of it.
See, like I think one of the best scenes of the movie is that very last scene with him and Vanessa when he dies, and then she tells him he has to go back as a family. I think like the school. Well, it's a slow version of Aha by like the Take Me On one.
Yeah,
but, like,
that was a good.
I thought their acting and everything
Yeah,
they were
so
saying. Like I thought the payoff for that was phenomenal.
For
I
me,
think-
the emotional aspect of this movie was obviously something they wanted to change from the first one and make that more of a priority, but it didn't work a lot of time. I still think the best things in this movie are the comedy and the action, and I don't think that complements what they want, like the direction they want to take the movie.
Okay, yeah. See, that's where I'm the reverse. I thought the emotional stuff made it even better because like I know they can do the comedy stuff good, but when the emotional stuff happened, it reminds me of the first one where I was surprised how well the romance was done in the first one, right? Where you came for the action, the violence, and the jokes, but you're like, oh, these people are great together. They have great chemistry and great scenes. That for me was the emotional same thing of like these emotional scenes for me were great and knocking out of the park. And for me, like that last scene was probably my favorite scene in the movie. I thought they did great job writing, acting, everything. But
I think the last one there, that was that was a good one. I actually teared up a little bit for that.
Yeah,
But
that's great.
all like the kind of emotional build up to that seemed very shallow and just kind of like skimmed over for me, at least. It didn't seem like there's a whole lot of depth to it. So, and plus the way like a lot of the humor around the emotional parts didn't really land for me either. Like it kind of took away from the emotional part, made it so the humor wasn't as good, but the humor took away from the emotional part too. So they just kind of, they're just like two things that could have like woven. I guess they tried to weave together nicely, but they just felt like two brick
Buttheads,
walls.
yeah.
hitting
Like in those
against each
emotional
other?
scenes,
I'll
I didn't
agree.
feel there was too much humor, and I feel like when it was just stuff like him, like he would quietly say, "Don't fuck."
There's
don't
humor,
fuck
like
El-"
there's never not humor.
But that's
there's
the-
never like
hang on,
there's
no,
not a
no,
single
no.
like minute
Yes,
of this movie.
that's
that
my
doesn't
point. Well,
have
no, there is in that very last scene up until the point where he says, "Don't fuck Elvis." She says, "Don't fuck Colossus," and she pushes him back. But the thing is, that fits with those characters. If they get in this moment, and I know it's like a fake Vanessa, but still, it's these two characters at their core. If they're not joking, all of a sudden super serious, that wouldn't fit that wouldn't fit them, because that was them in the first movie. They're always joking. They're always even when he has cancer, like they're joking about him having cancer. Like they're always back and forth with comedy. So it's the same thing as Guardians. People say lots of people give that Yondu scene shit for Chris Pratt when he's talking about David Hasselhoff, like always joking during his dad's funeral. But it's like those characters are that's how they deal with their pain. They're always quipping, they're always making jokes. And that's why I felt like it wasn't out of place in the emotional stuff, because like these characters would, even in some weird heaven, be making some sort of joke or some little snide comment, you know?
Yeah, I think another thing that lends to the maybe kind of strange pacing in this movie is because it's a lot more Wade Wilson than it is Deadpool, at least relative to the first movie. Like you spend a lot of times looking at Ryan Reynolds in this movie as opposed to, I feel like I mean maybe I haven't seen
because you spend the first like hour with him as just like before, like he meets Vanessa and then he's in the factory and then before he gets a car, like he spends a lot of time as just Wade Wilson, then burnt Wade Wilson.
Yeah, I mean I haven't watched the movie in a few months, so I can't remember exactly, but I definitely know, like when I was watching Deadpool 2, I was surprised at how much of like Wade Wilson there was, or just Deadpool without the mask on. And stuff. And you know, I think his mask is great, and I think the CGI with the eyes is phenomenal. So I kind of want.
It does look.
I always like more of that, you know.
Taylor, you haven't spoken up on Vanessa yet.
I didn't mind like her sequences with Deadpool. I think it was very fitting, you know, when he dies and he can't technically full on die, so it was just at the threshold of, you know, being with Vanessa in those moments. I thought that was very well done. Leading up to the end sequence, I think I don't know, I enjoyed all of those scenes actually with her and Deadpool, Wade Wilson. I think it was really good. Emotionally, I didn't find myself ever kind of like really drawn into it, but I was very much entertained by all of it. And I was very much shocked when she died. I was really thinking like, oh, she's gonna live, like it was a close call or something along those lines. But no, she ends up getting popped and.
See, I even like that though, because that was a moment where okay, she dies and like you get Ryan Reynolds gets to be really emotional and he kills that guy, and then up until the end credits, it is non-joking for a little bit, and that's another thing that I thought was ballsy for them too, to kill her off and make it non-comedy until okay, we cut to end credits and it's just like and they're even pointing out like, oh, what just happened? Did you really kill her? Like I thought that was a good way to transition out of that, but that's another thing. I thought they might write her off, or they could kill her, but I always worried that, oh, it could just kind of stomp over the first one. Like, oh, that was a big romance, but we're just moving on. But I thought they gave it a lot of time to breathe. And that's why I really like too, because it's a dark, dark moment in this like comedy.
I think you brought up a good point that the first movie had like surprisingly good romance, and that ended up being a really fun part of the story. And so I think a few things for the Vanessa thing from me. One, I think I wanted to see like more of her. Like just get like more scenes, more development, more scenes of them together. I think one problem is you spend like there's like a couple minute long kind of sequence where they're talking about having a baby, and like I didn't really find any of those jokes funny. So I guess that scene, like I wanted more scenes because that one didn't really do it for me.
About
you know?
the names and everything.
Like Kevin, that's a stripper name too.
I'll give you that one. I think that's really the least I laughed in the theater.
Yeah, and so I just wanted more scenes of them. I think what might have been a better route, at least for my taste, was perhaps if they had her alive throughout this entire movie and like building that relationship. You know, obviously he'd be off doing adventures and stuff, so it would just be like scenes here or there. He'd go see her. I don't know what the situation would be. A completely different movie, obviously, but more development of her, and then do this sort of storyline with her in like a third movie or something. Like do it later on when that character and that relationship is developed more, because you spend obviously a lot of Deadpool 1 in the first half or whatever. You do get to see them falling in love and all that.
Yeah.
But then she's gone. She's completely absent for most of the movie. Maybe not most of the movie, but for a long time, because she's the damsel in distress and she's just locked away, you know. And so Deadpool spends all his time getting there. You finally get to see her, and then the movie ends. And then they killed her right away in this one. So it just felt like it was too soon for
Well,
me.
I think that's what I brought up though, as far as like when you say, oh, he could go missions and come back. I think it might be too hard for them to always find a reason for him to physically have to go back and check on Vanessa. If, like Cable's here and this kid. That's why I always thought some way they're gonna write her off, because Deadpool can't be on adventures and have a girlfriend. I think it's too much for him to juggle that in. If you don't have Cable, if you don't have Domino, then sure. But if you're gonna add all this other toppings, you're gonna lose one of the toppings. I think.
I don't know. I think you can do it, because if you look at, like, obviously it's just about how you write it and what you build around it, because she still does have a lot of screen time in this movie. She's not technically alive for it. But if you replace those scenes with just more scenes of her, and yes, I don't know the logistics of how he would go back and see her. I don't know how they do it, but I'm sure there's 1,000 ways you could do it and still have it be entertaining. And I liked, I don't know, I guess I kind of liked her scenes when she was like in the armchair in the Soul Stone or wherever she is.
Oh.
Potential spoiler, but it really is just the same scene every time, really. Like it's just the same thing rehashed, at least from her perspective.
Fair enough.
From Deadpool, there's a development, he's trying to figure out the riddle, but from her, it's just kind of boring. And so, I don't know, I guess I just wanted a more fun character, because she was fun in the first movie, even though she was only in it for however long she was. But in this movie, they kind of just dropped it, and yeah, I don't know, I would have liked to see a different storyline for her. I think that's all I had to say on Vanessa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't say initially like full on that like I didn't like her at all, but I just think there wasn't enough depth to it. It didn't have as lasting of an impact that as I would have liked to see on Deadpool's character, at least throughout the film. For example, one thing was, like you brought up with the credits, they had her die, and it was, I think like Ryan Reynolds had a great scene where he went and like hunted down the guy, and then he hugged him, and they just like went in front of the truck and they just got hit by the truck together. That was a great scene by Ryan Reynolds, lots of emotion with that, and you could really see just how like just absolutely destroyed he was that she was dead now. And then it just goes to the credits, and it's just like, wait, what, do you just kill her? And it just does all that stuff, and it just kind of immediately just like goes straight to comedy without any kind of lasting emotional effect.
That's
and then there wasn't a whole lot of, and then you didn't really see that there wasn't enough like lasting emotion in Deadpool, kind of like grieving for her still and dealing with her death.
Oh, 100%
I don't
disagree.
think I don't think there's enough there. So I didn't feel like there was a whole lot of aftermath to it, and then they go back to it, but it just felt kind of like they were going back to it because they felt like they had to, not because there was still like that emotional attachment.
I feel like that drives his entire plot though with Russell, because
I actually kind of have to disagree too. Like, he even goes to the blind lady like pretty much right after that, and goes and talks to her, and he's at the bar, he's talking with teachers. So right after that, you do get to see him like feeling like shit, talking with his friends, the people that he cares about, his only family, and then he does go to X-Mansion, and then obviously that pushes the plot forward.
Because he says that line of, you know, oh, I didn't get the guy, and then Klaus goes, well, let's go get him, we'll beat his ass and everything. And he's like, I'm the guy that let her die, and that's his whole reason of pushing Russell away and giving Russell all this bad advice, because he views himself as like, you know, innuendo, but like he views himself almost like as a cancer that like because he was by Vanessa, she wouldn't have died if he wasn't there. So with Russell there, with anybody else in his life, he views it as, hey, I'm just gonna ruin people's life and I just want to die now. And that's why I like the scenes with him in the cell, which I agree with Dylan's like, okay, another cell setup kind of scene that we've seen a lot. But I liked him that scene when he was dying, that he literally just seemed like he was so done with life, and I felt like that for me was directly tied to the Vanessa thing. Not because, oh, he has cancer now and he's like sick. It's just like he's still like, yeah, he's sick, but he just looked emotionally like done with everything, and he wanted just to go and die. So that's where I was agree, because I feel like that drives the entire plot of the movie up until the point where he has that one other scene with Vanessa, and then he realizes I gotta save the kid. I feel like the Vanessa stuff kind of goes away, but again, I think that kind of makes sense because you can't. I think they do that dream sequence scene maybe like 3 times. I think the first is the setup, the second is the heart, and then the last one's the
I think
yeah. And I think that like I think I do want more of her, but at the same time you can't keep doing that because then it loses its specialness as far as him getting sucked up and having these scenes. Like you don't want to keep going back to this dream world because like okay, we've been here before. So I thought it was used just the right amount, and I loved how they used it. And I guess she's back, and I guess we can talk about that. I don't know how I feel about that. If I feel like, because for me, I love that last scene of him like saying goodbye to her. I almost wish there was a way that they could bring her back like down the line. For me, that's like Dylan, you're talking about doing storylines in the next movie. That's for me in one where let's get one more, because we know whether it's X-Force or Deadpool 3, again, he's having to be on an adventure alone, right? What if that adventure ended with him being able to bring her back, and that's a good thing, where it's like, we don't even get a chance to mourn, really, because it's like, oh, the super sad scene, he's saying goodbye, he's going to try and live a life without her. It's like, oh no, she's back. It's like, okay, like, and Deadpool can do that because it's kind of tongue in cheek, but at the same time, for me, that doesn't match the emotion.
That's kind of what they did in this movie, where like, hey, they're back together at the end of Deadpool 1, get ready for some fun times together, and then that ends like in the first 10 minutes of this movie. So I
guess, but
I feel like they don't know what they want. I feel like when they made Deadpool 1, I almost don't think they knew what they wanted to do with her character.
No.
And I get the feeling that they did that again with this movie. So I don't know what they're doing with her character.
See,
it doesn't seem like there's much forward thinking.
Her character to me sets up the like family thing though, right? The whole moral is like the F, like family's not just an F word. And that's where I felt that okay, he can't have her, but like I said, he can have a life without her. But now it's like he gets to make his cake and eat it too. It's like, oh, he'll go and have his family, and she's alive, and it's like, okay, I guess so. Like I guess if Rotana and Credit scene is like not just a joke, and
I mean, I have to agree with you that I don't think this is a good path for that character, and I don't really want her back now. Like I think they signed her off in this movie,
it was huge,
even though it's not what I wanted. I think now if they bring her back and it's all hunky dory normal, it's like, why did you do why is this the order that you're doing this in? Why not do it the other way? Why not have a trilogy, kill her off in the third one, boom, that was a great storyline, move on to some other love interest or whatever in the next movie.
It's one of those issues with time travels where it's like, why don't they just go back in time and just fix everything?
Yeah, and they could do that whenever.
And he did, and that was just like, well, what do you
Instead
do
it's
now?
a literal afterthought with the post-credit scene.
Yeah, well, that's why I do want, like, we have to take it at face value, right? Like, it's not, is it possible it was just for the joke? But I don't think so. Like, I don't know, because why would you put, if it was just for the joke, why would they put that one in there? Like, him saving her? Because the other ones, honestly, like, best end credit scenes I think have ever happened for me as far as, like, the origin. I literally gasped when it happened, because I thought we were going to get real Hugh Jackman, and it was just, like, footage. But still, it was still good. Like, Wade, is that you? And he just shoots him. And then the Green Lantern thing, phenomenal.
That
like,
Green Lantern thing is hilarious.
That was great.
So
just when he's like, finally, your big break, Ryan. And then he shoots him. You're welcome, Canada.
That's a good one.
So we'll see how it pays off. I think, like I said, I do think that he will... In X-Force, you won't have to worry about her because she'll be away. But I just, like I said, I thought they gave him... For me, that kind of... I don't want to make a comparison to another recent comic book movie, but there's... That is the tricky thing with time travel, because to me, that moment, like I said, the last moment, the scene they share together is my favorite scene in the movie. I thought, and usually I thought it would be the action, the humor. It's not. That was phenomenal. And then if she is just right back, for me, that kind of undoes it a little, right? It's a thing of like right now where it's like I might give this movie a higher score. In the future, I might be like, it's less than now because you took that away from me, right? And I thought that was a good moment of like, okay, Deadpool is now going to go off on his own and be with Deadpool and Domino and try and find like
Cable and Domino.
I guess
Deadpool's gonna be Deadpool.
Yeah. There's
just multiple
there's Pigpool, there's Gwenpool, there's a lot of pools out there. There's like 20 different pools, but like I was excited to see him do his own thing, and I still think Deadpool works best as his own thing. And now I'm kind of like, like if she's back, it's like okay, like what did he
I mean, he did also disappear right after he saved her, so it could be he just goes and finds her later, and she's just like doing the thing by herself, and he's trying to like keep her safe by not actually being with her.
Yeah, I still don't like it, but yeah.
Yeah,
who knows?
It's not optimal.
It was a very rushed segment. We don't really know exactly what's going on there.
Mm-hmm. And I wanted to, because we're talking about time travel. I didn't say anything about Cable. Loved Cable in this movie. Loved Brolin. I just he is very much. They still need to get a bit more in the character as far as comic book wise, because he's a huge comic book character, but he has the grit of Cable, he has the bluntness of Cable. He's just like hard nosed and in your face, and he was some of the times I actually laughed the most. He reminds me very similar to Drax in the first Guardians, where just his deadpan humor, just like Deadpool's like, I'm gonna hug you. He's like, no, you're not. Like, and his just even just his little like his raspy voice.
I love the ongoing joke from Deadpool that Cable's a racist.
Yeah,
I thought that was
they
hilarious.
introduced like halfway through the movie too, and then it's just there for the rest of it.
And I hope one day you'll be intolerant of people's skin. I'm not a fucking racist. Like it's like and that's the moment where like I was cheering is when they do, and Deadpool even points out like, oh look, we just had a bonding moment when they're like killing people at the same time. Like I legitimately felt like you had those stages of them being strangers to being against each other, action, and then becoming like forming some sort of alliance, and I felt like you actually saw the relationship grow, even though it's like really reluctant on Cable's part. He saves him the coin and everything. Like I want now, because they set this up, and obviously that's what X-Force is gonna be. I want the full 2-hour movie of them buddy and doing that.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
and that's why Cable's in this movie. In the comics, that's a big they're a popular duo. People love those two together, and you see why, because it's a classic buddy cop like joke, like the biggest jokiest like obnoxious guy with this the most hard-nosed hard-ass guy, and Brolin did it phenomenally, because that role could have been, because I think the role doesn't have much to sink your teeth into as far as a story. Like you get very minimal in Cable, but I think because he's so talented as an actor, he makes that character stand out. It's like Drax. Okay, we know his family died, but because Bautista does such a good job in the writing, you know, I think this one's more on Brolin than the writing, because
I think for an intro to the character, I think it's an interesting enough hook.
Yeah,
I think it's good enough for the first movie of him.
It is, but I
yes, you could have more depth if you wanted to, but I think they did like more than enough.
I guess
maybe not more than enough.
think this is a thing where, so with Infinity War, no spoilers, Brolin does great as Thanos, and he's easily part of the equation why that character is great. But Thanos is just written so well in that movie that a lot of people I think could have done a good performance. Where Cable, I think it is a good introduction, but I think if you get a lesser actor in there, he could have just been the boring tough guy. Where I feel like he gives him a little, like this weird, like dirty charm in a way.
Yeah.
Like there's something I can't put my finger on it, but it's just something like you feel you're cheering for him, but you feel dirty about doing it, you know. And you know he's doing the right thing, but. And you know, good for Josh Brolin, because those scenes where he had his shirt off, man, he's just ripped to the gills, and he's just like, yeah. So Brolin, I'm very excited to nominate him twice this year in Golden Geeks for Thanos, Best Villain, Cable. Like, we need to make an MVP award, and he's gonna win it, because he's.
Just have a category of all Josh Brolin roles in a given year. Which one was the best?
And here's the last thing I'll say is, with Brolin as Cable, I would still go and see a Cable movie without Deadpool, where I think there's some actors you could put in there and be like, oh, he's only good in the ensemble. Same thing as Domino. It's like same thing with her. I don't know I don't know what the Domino movie would be, but I'd be interested in it. Where I think
it's kind of like you know, Daredevil introducing Punisher and then him getting his own show.
That's exactly
very similar.
Scenario. That's exactly it. Where it's like, oh, I want to see this guy on his own now, or with an X-Force leading it, and. Yeah, Brolin is just he's great.
I think it is in terms of
scary
like
too.
CGI for his powers and his arm. Like I love that like shield that he would bring up and his eye and stuff. Really well done.
The only fight scene I didn't like was back to the prison scene where I feel like he messed up guards, but the action was really close in on him, and he was just doing a lot of throwing guys by the arm. And then I felt
he broke a lot of arms.
Yeah, I felt after that he was doing lots of cool action.
He's very insecure about his arms.
But
he broke Deadpool's arm like a few times.
His very first scene was just a little janky, I guess. But after that, he was great. He looked great and great hair.
Yeah, I think that prison, it was just an awkward set. Is the way I would describe it.
Yeah,
it's kind of
because
hard
if you do it from,
it's hard to
take the shot from too far out. Because there's so many people running
and
around
it's so
in the prison. There's not a lot you can see, so like, you have to have a close-up shot.
Yeah, I think
and Deadpool falling off and like breaking his back on that was like cringy. It was.
I think my problem was
it was gross, man.
It's not that it was too close up. It was just the stuff that was happening was kind of boring. So the fact it was close up, like I get he's breaking these guys' arms, but I think there was like 3 guys in a row he broke their arm, and I was kind of like, do something else. Like, I get it. Like, this is fine. But it's like, it felt like...
His superpower.
Yeah, it felt like they had all this budget, and then this one scene, like, we don't got much budget for this one scene, so let's just do some close combat, and then the rest of the stuff, the shield, and he'll be... Like, the gun was great, and I love Deadpool kept referring, like, this gun's awesome, but, like, great. Yeah. Good job, Brolin.
Well done,
He's looked great throughout the film.
What next? What next topic?
No Stan Lee cameo.
There is a Stan Lee cameo, technically. They do
Netflix
Netflix
Stan Lee, though. He's a poster or something.
He's getting the Netflix treatment.
Yeah. I don't know if that's because it's just... I know like he doesn't come to Canada now because of his health and whatnot. So unfortunately,
Yeah, I'm wondering because there was that article a while ago that he was in the hospital. Maybe it was around the time they were filming Deadpool. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think unfortunately the next 5 years we're gonna have to sadly get used to not seeing. I hope they always do that though. Put Stanley's image somewhere in a movie. You know, if he can't be there, you know, something like that. But I think I love Stanley. I would have took a cameo, but I think at least we got like the Pitt cameo and the Dane ones and the X-Men. Like I think it all kind of made up for it, and even the Ryan Reynolds and fake Hugh Jackman one, they all kind of made up for it.
That was great.
Yeah,
I love that one.
I wanted to give a big shout out to Colossus yet again. I think in the first movie he was a lot of fun. All his humor is good, especially him and Deadpool have really good chemistry, even though he's like a big CGI guy. But I love his look. I think they compare it to the whatever Colossus was in X-Men like 2 or 3. He looks so good, like just a really nice style and really consistent. And he has like. I feel like he has more screen time in this movie than he did in the first. And once again, I like all his scenes. I like the relationship between him and Deadpool. It's obviously, I don't know, it's a little more distant, but they seem to be getting closer and closer as time goes on. And it's just a really fun relationship to see. And then like his fight scene, particularly the one at the end with Juggernaut, is a lot of fun.
Well, I think if Vanessa didn't come back, I think there's a chance they could have made them a couple. But I think Vanessa's back. It's not going to happen. But like. Because they play really loosey-goosey with Deadpool's sexuality, and like he's always
grabbing
his ass,
butt, moves his hand, grabs it again.
When Colossus finds him, it's much like Vanessa in the first Deadpool when Deadpool sees her for the first time and it's slow motion. He's doing this and all that. Like for the listeners, he's doing sexual innuendos, but he did that with Colossus in this movie. Like I thought they would, because this movie would be the one to go there. Because they also, I was trying to rack my brain around last night with Teenage Sonic Warhead. Like I think that might be the first gay couple in a Marvel or DC movie, really, not counting Watchmen because it's kind of offshoot. Like, Deadpool's the movie where they would...
Yeah, I think so.
Like, I would see a movie where Deadpool comes home from a mission and he's living with Colossus and they're, like, legitimately lovers now, Like, and it wouldn't feel out of place, and I felt like they were almost starting to go...
Has, like, the pink apron on.
That's what I thought of, yeah. And I legitimately thought they were starting to go that route with, like, the say anything moment, but Colossus, great. Phenomenal use of that character.
Yeah. Negasonic Teenage Warhead, she got less screen time than she did in the first movie.
Way less. But...
She was kind of boring.
They gave it to Yoki.
I was kind of confused too. I thought it was a different actress. I was like, she looks quite a bit different for some reason.
She did. I think it might be in the hair though.
I think it was the hair. I don't know.
She had like the buzz cut.
Maybe some like different makeup. I don't know what it was.
I think she also filmed because she's from Kelowna. She probably
Kelowna.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. My sister actually knew her because there's a bunch of people that know her because she went to school here. So, awesome. I think the thing is she probably filmed that first movie when she was pretty young, and 2-3 years have passed since then, and she's like growing up, right?
True.
So she's not really a teenager anymore. So.
Yeah, she didn't really have any moments in this movie though, unfortunately.
What did you guys think about Juggernaut?
I thought he looked pretty funny. He looked pretty cool. I
think he fit.
I liked it
for sure. I think just like it was a good role on like it was like a good play on just like absolutely insane strength kind of role. I just thought it was kind of funny.
I wanted more. I think the reason was because
what more did you want though? That's where I'm like I don't know exactly what would have made the character more interesting because he is just supposed to be like the muscle of the story.
Oh yeah, and he has his awful one-liners and whatnot. I think I wanted a few more destructive moments. We never really got one moment where he's actually just fucking running and barreling through stuff. I don't know if that's a budget thing because
I do remember in X-Men 3 when Juggernaut just like trucks it through like 5 walls.
I'm the Juggernaut, bitch. Like he gets that one moment of him ripping Deadpool in half, and I think they build him up great because Deadpool's like,
that is a great scene.
He also punched the ground that one time and just sent the train flying.
Yeah,
it wasn't a huge thing, but it was like
at that moment we just saw his fist though, too, right? And I think the problem is because he is CGI, so he looks like a little awkward at times because he doesn't get the benefit of Colossus being metal, right? So it's CGI skin, and it's like okay, it's kind of video game thing. For me, I didn't love his look, actually. I wish they just, after he got out of prison, he got the classic brown jumpsuit and everything like that. I guess I just wanted a bit more, because I felt like he was going to be Colossus in the first movie, and even though Colossus was limited screen time, I got
I don't think he's dead.
No, but
I think he'll come back.
With Colossus in the first movie, I was like, I love
the end credits. He's like climbing out of the pool.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah, I just felt in the first movie, the Colossus, I loved him. Like, oh, he's used perfectly. Juggernaut, I guess I just wanted to get a few more cooler moments, a few more because I feel like he gets beat pretty easily too. Like, and it's used for comedic value, so I get it. He gets like a wire up his ass.
I don't think it was too
easy.
easy. I think a few people had to team up to take him down.
Yeah.
He
Work
did.
together.
It's just I don't know. There's something about it. I wanted to destroy a bit more. They
I
built him
actually
up a lot.
I do completely understand what you're saying. I just don't. I think that one's tricky for me because I have no solution. I don't know what I would have done to make that character better.
I want a scene of him running through shit. Is pretty much what I want.
Okay.
And a few other things like
That could have been fun.
yeah. I just want something. I wanted a little bit more. I liked the fight he had with Colossus, but they cut away from it quite a bit, and I don't know.
Did you know he was going to be in that jail cell?
I think I whispered it to Dylan. I said Juggernaut because it was like boom, boom.
Yeah,
and
I
it's
heard
just
you
like,
say it.
yeah, it's just like Taylor wasn't even in a theater. No, I'm joking. Yeah, I just had a feeling, and there was rumors of it for quite a while. No one's seen images of it, but it's just like the way they were building it up of like there's a monster in the basement. Like
For some reason, I thought it was like they would have Hugh Jackman or Wolverine down there for some reason.
God.
I just thought this movie would be crazy enough that maybe Wolverine could be tossed in
I
there.
guess my mind didn't immediately go to Juggernaut because the only Juggernaut I know is from the other X-Men movies where he's just the size of a regular man,
Yeah.
so it wouldn't have made sense for him to be this giant beast, but
yeah,
it does make sense. Is that like in the comics, is he usually like really big?
he's huge. Yeah, and he's Charles Xavier's brother too. That's why if you didn't
Yeah.
get that joke when he's
I
like, "Why
know,
do you wear
like,
that helmet?" He's like, "Oh, my brother always tries to read my mind." And then he says something random, and he's just like, "But he's in a wheelchair, so it evens it out," or something. It was
Yeah.
just
I think I
You
understood the
bastard.
reference, not that it was his brother, but that,
like, yeah, it is his brother. Yeah, they're brothers. Yeah,
that's cool.
So what was I gonna
Man, all these X-Men are really
I didn't
each
know
other
they were
pretty
brothers,
messed
but
up.
that's
Yeah.
still good joke.
Lots of
There's a lot
inbreeding going
A lot of
on.
incest going on.
Yeah, well, and even in the comics, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver sometimes have an incestuous relationship. So it's just like even
Nice. Way
blunt.
to go, Marvel.
It's just bluntly in your face
Yikes.
that these people are.
Breaking down barriers.
So they want to keep the mutant blood together. You know, they don't want to spread that stuff out. They want to make it like a fine one.
Yeah, just build this super. I don't even want to go down that path.
No, you don't.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of.
Did you like at the beginning the little musical box of Logan?
Well, I feel like
That was nice.
I feel
I
like
think that was a little too in your face.
Really?
Really?
I thought it was
Yeah.
a perfect way to start off of just like it's a big, especially because in the comics they hate each other and it's a big fuck you to them, and like again like they obviously they're making this movie for money, they're doing all this, but sometimes I just feel like they're making this movie to try and get Hugh Jackman out of retirement. Between the last one and this one, like the movie is riddled with Wolverine and Hugh Jackman. Like when he signs a cereal box and it's Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
And when he explodes, she's like, and fuck Wolverine. Like, he died in this movie, and he took our R rating. Like, that bastard. Like, how are we going to outdo him? Like, I don't know if it's going to happen, but, like, they're really, like, that's the problem, I think, because we talked about this one point, and I think, Dylan, you'd said, like, oh, you're fine with them not coming back, and I understood that. Like, just because if they keep egging me on, though, it just is, like, building it up. Like, because I guess the moment that really set it in for me, at the end of the movie when they're all walking together, Domino and Cable, like, I just want Jackman there. Like, I want him there in that movie, and, like, these movies take place, like, in the past. Like, he's alive right now. Like, he doesn't have to be dead. Like, I just want them to do it. I just want them to be... I want him to come back for one, and I want him to see him in this mix. Like, I want to see him crack these stupid jokes, and I want to see, like... They just keep teasing us, and, like... But I loved the beginning of the whatever, the...
Musical box.
Musical
and
box, yeah. Yeah, no cameo yet, but...
Another quick shout out I want to make is for that one joke when Deadpool's at the bar he's talking to that like big biker guy, and I can't
Best
remember
line in the movie.
what is he saying, the biker guy.
The biker is just
He's,
like
saying
talking about
something-
getting over, like, I think Vanessa.
Yeah, he's
like,
saying
maybe
something
Five
like-
steps of grief.
Yeah,
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 he's
yeah.
talking, it's like really over the top cheesy, and then Deadpool's like, oh, that's enough written lines for you. You're not getting any
No
more.
more speaking lines.
No more
for you.
speaking lines for you. And then
Yeah.
it's just gone.
That was
I
my-
thought that was like, that's perfect use of fourth wall. Like,
Yeah.
that is excellent. I love that joke.
I was laughing in the next scene with that joke. That was my favorite.
That was
one, I
probably
think.
my favorite joke.
Yeah, I think so too. There's some good ones. There's some good ones that I don't know if anyone picked up when he said like, "Oh, I should have wore the white pants today with Juggernaut," because not anyone laughed in the theater. But it's a throwback to the first one when he says he wears red plant.
Yeah,
pants
it's
and
red
red
blood, and
plants.
then there's the
Red
brown.
plants too. Yeah, the brown,
Brown
the white
pants.
because he was so excited about Juggernaut. So
I like that one
Oh,
I
part.
don't remember that.
yeah,
I didn't catch that, but that's a
Yeah.
great joke.
Yeah.
There was that one
All
scene
that.
where Cable was grabbing him and was like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "I'm Batman."
Yeah.
That was
That was
phenomenal.
really good.
They did the Q&A and they had the good Martha joke too. Like, oh,
Yeah,
it's
I
going
like
to
that
Cape,
one.
That
Cape
was really
Crusader,
good.
but his name was his mom. His name was Martha, so we
Martha
stopped
too.
fighting.
I feel like because the first movie, like, it really didn't have all that many jokes about like other superhero movies and
No,
such.
they play. I think they kept it to like X-Men. Like they made jokes about
Yeah,
McAvoy
yeah.
and Super. They kept it in their universe, but now I haven't read it, but I think there's a report out there that Warner Brothers had to give the go-ahead for them to say the actual words like Green Lantern. So Warner Brothers, I guess, good for them. They
I don't think they plan on doing a Green Lantern.
They've announced it.
Really?
Green Lantern Corps 2020.
2020. See
Not
that
happening.
happens.
Starring Ryan Reynolds.
I don't know. But
that could be. I
but
don't even want to say.
yeah,
that.
my two favorite Kale ones was the one where he's talking about like, oh, I'm gonna hug you, and he said no, and then when he does hug him, he's just like, is that a knife in my dick? He's like, that's a knife in your dick. Like, and he's like, okay, and he walks away. Like, just his straight humor was good. Donald had some good stuff too. I'm trying to think of some specific ones, but I did laugh a couple times. Dubsteps for Pussies was pretty good, and they kept going back to that joke. What is that? Was because we can talk about it now? Was the pop and the rap sometimes that you did not like? Was that an irk for you?
It wasn't so much the actual music itself; it's just the way they used it. Okay. I think it was very like abrupt, starting and stopping for it.
I'll agree because they did it like a few times.
Like
right?
with the dubstep, is like it just didn't feel like it flowed really well. Like I don't get me wrong, like when the dubstep was going, they were fighting. I was like, this is pretty sweet. But then it would just all of a sudden just like cut, and there's like no fade out or no like transition. It just straight just cuts, and then like in the middle of a scene sometimes too, and then some other music stops or there's dialogue, and it did that with a couple of the dubstep most noticeably I think, and with some of the rap ones, like when they were doing their like superhero run, it's like the panning shot all through the Darpender, and they had the rap song. I think that wasn't bad, but I feel like it could have been used a little bit better.
My favorite track in the movie was using the classic song "Tomorrow" from the Annie soundtrack. Phenomenal place, and when he goes to shoot Fire Fist, and it's tomorrow. You can see
he like vaults over that,
and it's
slide.
slow motion.
That was sick,
Fantastic.
That was a great shot.
The reason I say Effie the Dead Mouse because I was a reverse. Remember in Guardians, they used the Fleetwood Mac. They used Break the Chain twice, and then through Ragnarok they used Immigrant Song, and I'm like always like, oh, I'm not a big fan. Then you're like, oh no, I'm always good. So it's the reverse of like,
no,
I was completely fine with them using the same song. Again.
No. What I'm saying is when they had like quick cut where they would just like use like 15 or 20 seconds of a song, because they did that multiple times.
Yeah, I get.
That's what I mean. Not using the same song.
Okay. I guess they are doing it though. Anytime just the word dubstep came up, right? And I felt like for me the cut wasn't out of place because I feel like it would cut when that action scene was done. So it was almost like a joke that like dubstep, and then they fight, and then it stops.
They did that with the dubstep joke, which was sort of funny, I guess. But I don't know. They did it with other songs as well. Like they just did it.
I'll have to listen to that.
It felt kind of chopped up, and almost like the editing wasn't like completely finished yet, and they kind of just tossed it down.
Because I feel like the times where I'm thinking of like Team when they jump out like X-Force, the music does cut, but it's because they're all dying, right? So like for me, that's where I look out when I watch it. I feel like the cuts happen when
a couple times it does work,
stop.
but then they like do it a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, you look at the credits. There's a lot of songs in this movie.
There is.
I want to mention though, speaking on soundtrack, my favorite soundtrack moment was when they're at the school and the X-wing. Not the X-wing. Whatever the plane is.
The X-Wing one?
The Blackbird, like
whatever the jet, the X-jet or whatever it is. When it's coming down and they're going to the kid, and it's just that completely over the top, super cheesy superhero music for Deadpool, and it's just like that was probably one of my favorite soundtrack moments because it's just like it's just so out there and just way too cheerful for like a Deadpool movie and. I don't know. I thought it just fit super well, and I was just laughing out loud. That was like one of the few moments I actually laughed out loud in the movie. But I just thought it was amazing. A big shout for me was they used the same score that Logan dies to when he's dying. So like the exact, and they had. I thought so. Then when I saw the credits, I was like, okay, but yeah, the same score when Logan dies in Logan. They used that for Deadpool.
They used one of the songs from Guardians, the first Guardians.
Pina Colada, yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they. Like, if that was supposed to be some sort of reference, but it just seemed like it was kind of randomly thrown in.
Well, that's what I thought too. I'm like, oh, they're going to make a Guardians joke here. And then they never... Like, I thought Cale was going to get in, and he was going to, like, take the cassette out and, like, be, like, volume through. Like, something to allude. Yeah. And then there was. They just went along. And they even...
Kind of weird.
And they even used TNT, which is, like... I don't think they ever used an Iron Man, but, like, AC/DC's kind of affiliated with Iron Man now, right? So, like, there's a couple times where I'm like, oh, this is going to... maybe lead somewhere, and it didn't. I was like, okay, so they like that song.
Just a lot of quick cuts.
Yeah,
that's what I'm
I
saying.
guess we can't just assume that Guardians owns Pina Colada song now anymore.
There's that whatever the Rick Rolled song was playing at the very start too.
No, it wasn't the Rick Rolled. It was All Out of Love by Air Supply. Yeah.
You sure?
I'm positive. I listened to the soundtrack today.
Okay.
But maybe in the third one. And then they did a remix of the Deadpool song, but it was an X-Force version.
Also, Juggernaut song. Holy shit, it's Juggernaut.
Oh yeah,
in the credits.
Great.
I liked it, but I was mad because I thought it was leading to an end credit scene, and we didn't get like an end credit scene. We got just the
okay.
Yeah, I definitely I thought there was going to be a right
Another
before we cut to black because they did that in the first movie as well. It was obviously they wouldn't do the same scene where Deadpool was just talking about like why are you still in the theater?
The Ferris Bueller kind of.
They could have done it again though, honestly. They honestly could have done it again if
I think they should have. Why not?
Yeah, just like you're still here, like everything like that. But
Maybe that was the scene. It's just like 10 minutes later.
yeah,
It's awkward though when like the
meta.
people that work at the theater are, like trying to clean up and you're like sitting there and they're like they kind of want you to leave, you know.
I'm trying to think anything else to shout out. Like other than Cable, the villains are pretty basic. You got Black Tom, who's a comic character, but Black Tom's definitely dead now, and that was quick. And you have the creepy, school guy Essex, which is Essex Corporation. I'm really surprised they keep
What did you
shouting it
say?
out. Essex.
Okay.
That's
Sorry,
the banner.
For 5 seconds there, I had no idea what you said. I was very confused.
I saw an Essex.
Your mother sucks
thing
cocks in
in real life
What?
today. On the back of my
Nice
car or
related.
something.
That's from
Amazing.
The Exorcist. Essex in
Yeah, blame the Exorcist.
it
Anyway.
happened in Apocalypse where that end credit was the Essex Corporation is Mr. Sinister and he's all into cloning. That was in the end credits. Obviously that happens in Logan and now this. Mr. Sinister has not popped up in many of these X movies, but he's sure getting thrown around quite a bit. So, and I'm very pissed off because he was supposed to be in New Mutants played by John Hamm, but apparently that's not happening anymore because they're just reshooting the fuck out of that movie. So.
Trailer was so cool.
Peter, his catfish photo looked like John Hamm. A little bit.
I was trying to figure out. I felt like it was an actual actor though, but I was trying to figure out who it was. But
Just someone who looks noble.
yeah,
I think that was very funny when Cable and Deadpool were walking out over front of the school, and he's like, "Oh, talking about like look at all these perverts in white with shotguns or rifles or something," and they cut through them all, and he's like, "Is this not what best friends like do together?" And they were executed perfectly together. Like, it was amazing.
and then when he talks to that one guy, he says, "I'm gonna leave you here with your sex lips," and he's just like, he's watching, he's just like, yeah.
You have to wonder what it's like to be that actor, Where like that's your biggest role, is Deadpool saying you have sex lips,
Better than our roles,
Yeah. I don't know.
which are nothing.
We should interview him on the GeekVerse cast.
That actor.
That actor.
Okay, the first thing I
I'll
heard
do it.
Ryan Reynolds was like, "Oh, I will. Yeah, we'll hit him up. Hey,
him
sex
up.
lips."
See sex.
Yeah. Anything else? Any big scenes to shout out? Any big jokes or anything? Like that?
The 4 or 5 moments one, that the callback to the first movie.
Right.
I thought that was great, and then you get Colossus just looking all smug, like really happy and stuff, and then
He just headshots the guy.
great.
That was it.
Great.
Really good moments in this film.
Like I said in my
Loved his-
intro name,
Jersey too.
the jersey was really good.
Yeah.
Trainee on the back. I love Deadpool shouting out when he's on Juggernaut and saying, "What did it say? Help me out, big guy." Or,
Sun's getting real low,
Sun's
big
getting real
guy.
low. Oh,
Yeah.
that was
You
so
al- you
good.
always-
Did he say
I'm
that?
glad you called it.
Yeah, he did. He was like
The Hulk
it was a
reference.
call.
When? What point?
When he has his 2 samurai swords in Juggernaut and he's trying to like get his helmet off.
Oh,
He's like,
okay.
the sun's getting real low, big
Oh
guy.
shit! I didn't catch that. That's
That's a
great.
big joke he's playing.
That's
This
a
movie
big
has a lot
one.
more of Thor Ragnarok, Matt Damon, that joke, lots of they're recycling the same stuff.
That's true.
I
I
know
must have
that
been pissed when I saw Matt Damon in Thor Ragnarok. Like, fuck, that's supposed to be
That was
ours.
our idea.
Yeah.
I know we talked about lots, but I liked how Deadpool specifically looked at Cable and called him out, like called him Thanos.
Yeah.
For that one joke. I thought
Oh,
that
that's
was
great.
really
There's a
funny.
lot of comic book jokes, which was a good call out. There was lots of shots at
There was a lot of them, but they were mostly pretty good. So
Yeah. I think they make sure those ones are as crisp as possible.
Crisp.
So
Did you guys like the? I can't remember the cab driver's name, but he's talking about how
Dirk
he's
Diggler?
like, "You're my Tom Cruise, I'm your Kristen Dunst." He's talking about the whole movie. And
that was kind of like a running gag.
I quite
I
liked
didn't,
it.
I didn't love
You
it,
liked that?
honestly.
Maybe it's because I like that movie Interview with
Oh.
Vampire, so
Isn't
that's
it
why.
Brad Pitt and not Tom Cruise?
That's what I thought.
Or
I
both
thought
of
Brad
them
Pitt.
there.
I can't remember if Tom Cruise kisses Kirsten Dunst, but I thought Brad. Well, they're both in the movie,
Yeah.
but Brad Pitt's the one that kisses Kirsten Dunst. So I think they're kind of changing some stuff up there. But yeah, I really like that movie. So, and I really like the other joke that not many people got was the joke about Passion, because he keeps referring to himself as God and everything like that. Passion of the Christ, and when he talked about because that's a rated R movie, and before Deadpool came out, that was the biggest rated R movie of all time. Deadpool is now,
Really?
except for
That's funny.
Yeah, except for like he was talking about in domestic and everything like that,
Yeah.
and then when he's like, but other places don't have religion, like that was really good. But that's literally just shouting out like film nerd stuff, like box office statistics and stuff like that. Like I feel like they did a lot inside baseball, but at the same point, I feel like there is gonna be a lot of people like myself that read the comics that will get those. Lots of mainstream maybe won't, but there's that, and like the Rob Liefeld, like the one he shout out was about, oh, it's like you have a comic creator who doesn't like to draw feet, and Rob Liefeld is notorious for like the way he draws feet or trying to hide feet and stuff like that. So I think there were a couple others that I have to think, but they did take quite a few ones that were.
It'll be interesting. I think those jokes will only get better on rewatches when you know, obviously in the theater sometimes you miss some things because people are laughing.
Yeah,
and
fucking
that,
people.
You're seeing it for the first time. You're trying to take it all in, but also, you know, when people see the movie and they're talking about it with their friends and they're sharing their favorite jokes and they're like, oh, I didn't get that joke, and then, you know, share what it's from. And like, I don't know, I learned a bunch of what these jokes are from just from this cast with you, so I'm sure the fans are grateful to have you, Travis.
Oh, of course.
Well, there's even that when he calls out the cab as being Brown Panther or whatever. Like,
oh yeah,
Black
way to go, Brown
joke.
Panther.
Yeah.
I feel like that's not a too in-depth one though.
No, I guess not. But
that movie's pretty successful.
That's one where, like, let's say they could only pick 5 superhero jokes in the movie, they'd probably leave that one out.
Yeah. But they went with it, you know, because like, yeah,
they have no limit. So
I think it helps, especially superhero genre's so big right now, and
yeah,
you know, so
I think it was maybe a couple too many, but
really,
I mean, I kind of like them all.
I think it depends on their execution. Like the Black Widow one, I didn't find that one that funny. Brown Panther I thought was great at the end. The Thanos one, I thought it was funny because
you have to
Thanos.
do that. Even if it's not funny, you have to call it that he's Thanos.
Yeah.
It's such a big deal. They are cast.
It's very timely. You got to do it right now.
'Cause, yeah,
3 weeks after.
Yeah, and they didn't even make a joke. Like he didn't even do something witty. He just called him, "Hey, look over here, Thanos." Like he didn't even make he didn't. They wasn't
He just straight up called him Thanos.
Yeah, it wasn't smart written. It's like just you're gonna call him Thanos and something. And that's a good thing that happens. There's a lot of things you can tell Deadpool. They probably have changed jokes multiple times because with his mouth, you don't know what they actually said on that day, and
This is true.
all you can do is ADR. So it's like they can update it as quickly as possible as they can up until they release this thing, right?
That's a good point.
I think there's some stuff that they probably threw in there that maybe never was in the first script. You know, they never had anything planned for.
Well, when did they finish shooting? It must have been a few months ago, right?
But editing, all it takes is one day for Ryan Reynolds to go in there, record a couple lines. Like,
I know,
let's swap that. Let's swap that. I think
That's what I mean. Like obviously they did that, like almost guaranteed. I feel like.
I would have to look up the specifics when they wrap filming.
Well,
But I think
originally the
quality-
line was different in the trailer because he was like, "Pump the hate brakes, Thanos," or something like that.
There was
They
like
changed it around.
almost all of the main trailer lines and stuff was completely different in the movie.
Really?
Yeah, same thing
Because that's
like,
kind of different than the first movie.
Like it's so dark. Like, what are you from the DC
Yeah,
universe?
yeah.
That was in a completely different scene.
Yeah, because the setup on the trailer was like, oh, you're dressed up as a sex toy, like wearing the skin suit. But in this one, it's the dubsteps for pussies. Like there were similar lines from the trailers, but they were put in other places.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Clean.
Who knows?
Crisp, clean editing. The one last thing is the article Travis shared with us, where a potential idea they had for recruiting the X-Force was to have Chris Evans as Human Torch. Be one of the other.
yeah.
I would have loved to see that. That would have been like my favorite moment of the movie if that were to have happened.
Well, that's why I like in that interview, like the interviewer asked, because he's interviewing the two writers, and the one writer's like, oh, I don't know, and there's like a bunch of dots after, so it's not like he may really want to do it, and then they're like, oh, we just never got around to it. That's one that like, I don't understand how they didn't get around to, because that is just, they have the right, honestly, I guess Marvel could have put the kibosh on, it's like, hey, Evans, like, you're not doing this, but like, they own right now Human Torch, and it's just like, especially with this Disney deal, like, it would have been perfect, but I really wonder...
there's got to be something, because they would have to think that joke would be hilarious.
Well, because apparently there
was
was a Disney joke in this movie, but they had to cut it.
Ooh.
Yeah, and Ryan said it's
Disney.
Best,
they have all the power now. They can lay down the law on whatever they want.
Anything else or final thoughts?
Disney's too powerful. Hashtag save Hannibal. I don't know. That's all I have to say.
All right, give your final thoughts.
You check your...
You're the one who's
Are you just
final
seeing
thoughts.
the time or something? Because you clearly didn't look at it.
I was like, oh, Netflix, new arrival. For Taylor.
What kind?
It says cargo. I don't know what that means.
That sounds kind of boring.
It does sound boring.
I guess I'll do my final thoughts. I think, if I was to compare this to the first one, I definitely prefer the first one. But as I was saying, some of these jokes, it sounds like they might mature over time seeing it again. So it's always hard to say after seeing a movie once. But, compare this to I said at the very beginning in the spoiler-free section that I compared this movie a lot to Guardians 2 and Lego Batman. Guardians 2, when I saw it, I was so stoked on it, and like when we did our review, I was like, oh man, this movie it's definitely better than the first one. I've since retconned that because when we watched the first one again for the Marvel Retro, I think I realized that the second movie really added like a lot back to the first one, and then I like the first one again now. But I feel like Deadpool, it's hard to say. I feel like the first one might continue to be my favorite through time. We'll have to wait and see, obviously. But yeah, overall, like it's just a fun movie. Like I had some problems with the start, but at the end of the day, you go to the theater, you have a good time, you have some good laughs, and Deadpool definitely delivered. I didn't really expect that it would let me down in any way, and I like that it subverted my expectations in the direction it went, even if I don't necessarily like that direction. But I'm glad that they went out on a limb. And obviously, the thing I think that I love the most about Deadpool is just like how many little moments there is in these movies. You know, little jokes or little things in the background. Like there's just a lot going on, and I feel like it makes it a very unique movie, you know, like a lot of this review is just us, oh, I love this little moment, love that little moment, and I think, I can't think of another movie in recent times that we reviewed that really has just so many little things, and at the end of the day, it's the little things that add up to make it like one whole brand movie. So, overall, another success, and, you know, X-Force movie, I don't know, is there like any sort of plan of when that might come out?
I think the plan was like 2020, but let me look up right
so
now.
Quite a while, but either way, this movie got me excited for that, and it gives me faith that whatever they decide to do with Deadpool 3, if that ever happens, that it will be a good experience, unless Disney steps in the way and cuts it down to bare bones, in which case I might be disappointed. But if they give them the creative freedom to do what they want, I have full faith in, after seeing this one, that they'll be able to deliver. So.
Well, my worry is not that they cut them down to bare bones, that they just cut them.
Cut it completely.
Yeah, that we don't even get like, oh, here's the PG-13 version. I think,
I don't know, if it's big in the box office, I mean, Disney at the end of the day, they just want those clean dollars. So.
I think we'll at least for sure get the X-Force movie. I think it's the after is what is a question, because they said this deal won't be official, they think, till like another 6 months till they can like officially say we own it, and then they couldn't go into production for like another like year after that or something, because you know, law is a funny thing. So lawyers
and contracts, all that.
Yeah, legitimate.
Who needs them?
Yeah,
who needs them?
There's
Let's live in a world without that stuff.
Not me.
Yeah, there's no official start date. They just know that the script's being written right now. But I would say 2020 could be a good time. If Deadpool 2016, this 2018. I could see it being 2 years. Like I think they're planning to keep it at lower budget, so
cool.
Yep.
Someone else?
I'll take it away.
Hey, thank you.
That's me. It's hard to say overall. There's so many like absolutely like really good standout moments in this movie for me, but there's a couple lows as well.
Irks.
I think the biggest thing for me that I loved about Deadpool 1 was that it's just very simple, and it takes a lot of care it puts a lot of care into the small things that it did, which made it overall a great film. For this one, there's a lot of things that they didn't put enough care into, and they kind of went over really quickly. The opening kind of fight scenes, all those little things of him taking down just like the regular bad guys, I think they like glossed over that really quickly, and then a lot of the fight scenes just felt like there wasn't much care. And I guess Deadpoolness into it is just like a classic kind of superhero fight scene.
Okay.
At least compared to the first one.
So you like the action more in the first one?
I like that it was much more
kind of centered on Deadpool.
It's much more centered. Yeah, exactly. And it was much more. There's a lot more care given into the choreography, and every moment of the fight was very Deadpool-esque, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, I can see.
And I mean, I understand that obviously they had different characters fighting in this one that they had to focus on. But I think for Deadpool's moments themselves, it was still is much more generic compared to the first one. So I think that took away from it a little bit. And then, as I mentioned before, the pacing wasn't like super on par for me, especially coming from Infinity War, which was absolutely relentless, but it had amazing pacing the whole way through.
Josh Brolin in that.
So he is, and
JB.
And for me, I think one of my favorite moments, like my two favorite characters in the movie, is Cable and Domino. I think for me those were like the biggest parts of the movie, and I just love those characters to death the whole way through. I think there's a lot of another irk I had was that this movie felt kind of like there's Deadpool, and then the whole world was also kind of more comedic and cartoony, along with Deadpool. Cable obviously being the exception, which I thought was great. But then in the first Deadpool, what I really liked was Deadpool was kind of like this super cartoony out there character, but the rest of the world was still kind of serious around him. And then in this one, it just felt like the whole world was kind of more cartoony.
You think that though? Because you have T.J. Miller as Weasel, who's like doing his
Yeah,
jokes, and you have Dopinder who's like talking about how he's murdering someone.
Yeah.
Like I feel like there's some oddball
there's still oddball people, which is great, but I think they were kind of closer to Deadpool's comedy, and I think his comedy in the first one kind of stands out a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
He has his own kind of genre in a way, so I think there was a little bit, there wasn't that like kind of that harsh kind of like break between Deadpool and the rest of the world. It wasn't, they were kind of melding together a bit more, which for some moments it worked, but for other moments it didn't for me.
Yeah.
But I don't even know where I was gonna go after that. But overall, I do think that the first movie is a little bit better than this one for me. But I'm really excited to see what they do going forward with Cable, with Domino, and with Colossus too. I think there's a lot of potential for X-Force, so I'm super excited for that.
I wonder if Colossus is actually in X-Force.
Yes.
You think so?
I
Can
think
confirm.
He does walk, or like does he lead the X-Men at the end of this movie?
I don't think he leaves them, but
Because Negasonic Teenage Warhead goes back to the mansion, but he's in that lineup of them all walking.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So maybe he's
Who knows?
going rogue.
Going rogue.
I
Not that
also
rogue.
I want to show that
She'll be in there.
when they first introduced Yukio, I thought they said Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm just like, that's a really weird reference, but I love it. I'm into it. But
I wish I had heard
it
that.
wasn't. It was Yukio. And I was very sad.
Wow.
There,
No love for the
that's his
Japanese.
biggest irk.
Still, I'm not saying I don't like the character. It just could be better.
I'm just joking.
Could be better. But yeah, overall,
Don't be a racist.
I mean, it's still
Clearly, Briggs loves Japanese culture in many ways.
still a really good movie, and I think they're setting up for. I think the X-Force movie could be much better, but I don't know. Score, I guess, would be. I think I'd give this one a 7 out of 10.
7.
Yeah, that's where I'll pass it on to one of the other teams.
Just a 7. Hey, normally you do like a faltering 7 or like a staggered 8 or something.
Yeah, no, I'm just throwing it.
Just a
Just
7.
the 7.
Just a
Just
straight
remember.
7.
Nice.
Yeah, you can go because some of the most positive. So
And I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Taylor drops a 10, just leaves you no room.
Well,
No, this, like, as I said at the beginning of the cast, you know, the movie, like, I enjoyed it. It was a good ride, but it just had so many similarities to the first one over the course of how it felt. Just, you know.
Over the course of how it felt.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's like Shakespearean or something.
Taylorian.
Taylorian. I like that. That is sick.
Yes.
But yeah, no. That being said, like there were still tons of jokes that were a little bit, you know, over the top for me sometimes, and so half the time I didn't get the jokes. I forgot to shout
Half
this
the
out
time.
earlier.
That's
Half the
not
time.
fair to yourself.
No, it's
You didn't
not.
get half the jokes?
That's a
I think you
very
got a
bad
higher
track
percentage
record.
than that.
Well, okay, I'll
I
go
feel
around
like
like
the movie didn't do that
85%.
great if you didn't get half the jokes.
I think
You're
maybe,
not the target
maybe
audience.
half the jokes you didn't find funny, but I think you I think you got.
That's much better. Thank you for wording.
Or
it
maybe
like that.
if you don't laugh, maybe. Anyway, go ahead, Taylor.
One joke I want to shout out is
Scrap.
when Deadpool is dying and he's like, "Come on, one F word, one fuck
Oh, that was
from
a good
you,
one.
from you, Colossus," and he's like, "Fuck," and he's like, "I will see you in hell, you bastard," or something like that. That was really great.
It's such like a solid fuck. Too. It's not like he's like shy, but he's like fuck.
Yeah.
Great.
that whole dying scene was good. I liked that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they purposely made it go on long.
It was way too long.
Yeah.
But I liked that they
Twice
made
he just like looks off into the distance. And he's
Cat.
like, oh no, I'm still here.
You can't predict when he's actually.
Academy. I hope you're watching.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I watched Deadpool 1 right before I went to the theater to watch Deadpool 2, and it's just, maybe that's why I saw it much more similar to the first one in so many aspects. I watching the second one, it didn't feel like it lived up to, in my opinion at least, as good as the first one. The first one just felt in so many ways like it was this new kind of feeling, and its representation was fantastic, and it felt like
It
there
was new at the time.
yeah,
that is one thing where this is not it's not fresh
It's not the
anymore.
first like
you know?
R-rated comedy.
Yeah, which is why I guess I would have liked a lot more different change, I guess. But then again, I don't know all the other different ideas they were throwing around with it or whatever. But I feel like it was too simple of a movie, and I feel like for Deadpool's sake, it was too simple. I feel like it should have been more off the top, you know, like the first one, but just very, very different in so many other ways, and they have the potential.
I don't know what movie you watched. I feel like this is so different than the first one in so many
I'm not
ways.
saying, you know,
From tone to
Did you
plot
like have the first
structure.
one open on like YouTube on your phone?
Yeah,
Yeah, I was watching
like,
it down.
I feel like it's so different in the way it, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Just,
I can see where you're coming from,
it's
but
just
I can't fully agree.
start to finish. I
I
just
don't
felt
know.
like, you know, he's going back in time, talking about the events that happened and unfolded. Then something horrible happens. Then he's trapped in this situation. Then he makes his team. And he faces
I already
the bad
talked
guy.
about you.
I-
that the,
Yeah, but I got
the
cut
op-
off though. I got
But
cut
the
off.
opening, they jokingly make it only like 5 minutes. Where in the first movie, that's the whole movie. But they do the 5 minutes like, oh, just kidding. The Bond credits happen, it changes. And yeah, he's dealing with a tragedy. But that happens in most superhero movies. Like Batman always is fucking dealing with
Yeah, no,
something.
but
like,
at least
Iron
this-
Man's always dealing with, oh, I got PTSD.
space
Oh,
thing
Pepper's in
is-
danger.
Oh,
like,
I got PTSD.
I
Got the
feel
PTSD again.
Oh, darn.
I feel like he's dealing with stuff, but
The
it's still in
spacing is done differently in those movies. This one just felt way too similar and parallel to the first Deadpool.
Too similar in parallel.
That's what I
Travis.
was-
How though?
Let's watch Deadpool 1.
I did
Watch
right.
it.
I did it the night before.
Yeah.
You should have
Yeah.
watched it the same day.
Watch it again. It feels so.
Watch
It
it
just
backwards.
feels parallel. That being said, I really enjoy the movie, and there are differences. I 100% see that and enjoyed that, but it still felt
You're
way
ignoring
too.
it.
Even
It
the
still felt
ending
too
is like
parallel.
he's trying to get somebody, but he's just trying to rescue a damsel in distress. This one, he's having to connect with someone, and he's not. In the first movie, it ends with him having to use his bronze to win and get the girl. This one, he's using his heart. Like it's still.
I'm not
even
talking
that-
from a story perspective. Though.
But
I'm
it was
talking.
perspective.
No,
what are you
you're talking about using
about?
bronze and the way he's got to get the girl. That's story. This, I'm talking about the feeling, the atmosphere, and the tone of the movie. He's just assembling a team to deal with the situation at the end to come out victorious, and he does come out victorious.
He
If you
does,
strip
but-
it down to the basics, you're right.
Yeah, I guess the basics, but like the assembling of the team is literally he just walks to the X-Mansion, gets Colossus. The X-Force is this big chunk that leads to Domino, which leads to like these cameos, which leads to Cable. Where in X-Men's like, oh, I just went and got Colossus and Negasonic and that's it. Like the X-Force thing, and that's something that is spawning into a full movie, and we're like learning about these characters like Domino and Cable. So it's not just like a fun setup. Like they're planting the seeds for more down the line.
Plant the seed.
Yeah, and I understand. I guess I just wish it would have been. It would have been just different. I wish the seeds would have been bigger.
Just wasn't
You know,
right.
It just
Cable is a
didn't feel
time
right.
traveling mutant. How is that not big?
I'm not talking about
They
Cable.
literally introduced
I'm not
time
talking about
travel
Cable,
into this
though.
fucking movie.
I know, but I'm not talking about Cable though.
And what are you talking
Deadpool
about?
has like infinite teleportation time travel usage, which I
What's
assume is how he is now able to teleport.
I just feel like
I don't get it.
there were just too many parallel things over. Looking at the movie from up above really high, it just looks like it was just very, very similar.
Okay, that's bullshit. Because if you look above Kelowna and Vancouver from space, they're gonna look the exact same.
That's too literal.
No, yeah, but that's what you're saying. You're saying, oh, looking above, these movies are the exact same. Yeah, but get in the details.
Yeah, but
Like Dylan said, were you watching Deadpool 1 in the theater while this was happening?
I understand, and that's what I said. You know, the details and everything. Yes, it is different, and I appreciate that. But that being said, I wish that the general flow of the movie was different. If that makes sense.
Oh, and you
Somewhat.
fucking watch Transformer movies. That are the
Transformers?
same thing
No,
over
no,
it.
no, no.
Yes, they
How
are
many have
over
you
and
seen of
over.
Transformers movies?
I've seen enough
No,
to
no,
know
no,
that they're
no,
the
no,
same
no,
thing.
no.
Oh, he dodged the question! He dodged the question!
I've seen 2. That was enough because guess what? They're the
Oh,
same
only 2!
movie.
There's 7! You gotta see all 7! The 6th is the best! Saw 7!
That was a
That
great
was a
shot.
joke.
But you know what? Taylor's just really mad salty this week because they're making a Lando movie instead of fucking Obi-Wan, so that's why he's pissed off. So
No,
it's my turn.
No,
It's my
you know what?
turn.
You know what? You just reminded me of something. I gotta shout this out. Thank you for reminding me this. I would have been
No,
so upset.
don't need to talk about the stupid Predator.
No,
We
yes,
have
I do.
one
Yes,
loser.
I
We're
do.
not talking about Predator.
No,
Or no, it's not happening.
Bring
It's
up
not
the
happening.
newscast.
Fine.
What's your score?
I'll give it a 7.3 out of 10.
I was ready for you to drop like a really
6.
angry 1.
I wanted
just
to,
to spite
but no.
Travis. 6?
7 point, what did I say?
3.
I thought you said
7.3.
6.
I said 6. I thought he was gonna go 6. I thought he was.
7.3.
So there you
Just above
go,
Bruce.
ladies and gentlemen. Suicide Squad is a better movie than
I don't know.
Deadpool
We're
2.
Okay, we
comparing
gotta
the
start.
two.
I think Taylor
I've
even
never-
it's Suicide
The whole
Squad.
point of the number ratings is so you can compare it to different movies.
Yeah, I'm never letting him let go of Suicide Squad. He made that 10. He's gonna.
Well, what's
Biggest
my
mistake
rating?
is
You divide it by 2
And then add
you
5.
Add 5. So what is
No,
that?
you don't add 5. Yeah.
Or no, we had 2.5.
You divide by 2, add 2.
No, it was
Divide by
add the
2, add
2.5.
No, it was 2.
Who
It was
cares?
2. Yeah,
So
divide by 2.
it's, so it's a
add
3.
2.
No, it's 2.5. Trust me, it's 2.5. It's on a bloopers I just listened to not too long.
Divided
ago.
by 2 plus 2.5.
Yeah.
Ooh, so it's a 6.
So it was a 6. Yeah. Boom. There you go. Okay,
Go ahead,
so
Travis.
I'll take this home. Yeah, so these guys brought up a lot of good points. Well, 2 of them brought some good points. One is on some fucking heroin or something. I don't know. But they brought up some good points and some cons that could be with the movie. But I hear them out and I hear why that's a con for them. And I can hear their whole explanation. But for me, it just didn't hit me that way. Like I said, a lot of the stuff apparently that didn't work for them worked for me. The humor still worked. The action I thought was better in this movie. I love the emotional stuff in this movie. I like it better than the first movie because I just feel like when I'm rewatching, I love the first Deadpool. I gave it a perfect score. But I always watch that movie being like, oh, I can't wait till the second one because I want to just get into more of Deadpool adventures. And this to me is like from start to finish a Deadpool adventure. You know, he is Wade Wilson a lot of times, but I feel like he is Deadpool. He's in these weird scenarios. And you have, I love Vanessa, but like she doesn't match Domino and Cable for me. I love Vanessa and Deadpool together and their chemistry in the first one, but I love seeing Josh Brolin on screen and I love seeing Zazie Beetz as Domino, and I'm gonna get a enjoyment watching this over again and again. And I really enjoyed it, and I harped on it last year that I thought last year was gonna be the best comic book year, but for me, so far, like Black Panther, Infinity War, I'm throwing out the big old double digits again. I'm giving this movie a 10 because the same thing for me. Like I said, they have their cons. The only one that makes me waver is the Vanessa coming back alive thing, and that for me could, even if I drop it to 9.5, and maybe I could say it's a 9.5 or 10, even if I rate it lower, I'm going to pull Taylor, even if I rate it lower, I still enjoy this movie more. But the Vanessa thing that's a tough thing for me to swallow, because I don't know, if they do bring her back, then it's like, that hurts a lot of this movie for me. Some of those emotional scenes are still great, but I don't know if they stand the test of time. But as this movie stands now, best end credit scenes of all time as well. Those were, I can't remember, I don't know if I've laughed as hard, like just one point in a movie theater ever. That like between Green Lantern and the origin thing, phenomenal. So yeah, Ryan Reynolds and his team are.
I would say you laughed much harder at the wig scene.
Oh, okay, yeah, you're right.
Tomb Raider.
I meant intentionally laugh, I guess. Intentionally, yeah. Tomb Raider, go check out
Tomb
our
Raider's the
review.
funniest movie of all time.
But yeah, this is my 3rd movie of the year. Hopefully, I don't think there's gonna be too many more 10s. So I look at the rest of the year. You know, last year I threw a lot of 10s. So, but I always.
Solo's coming up, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Negative 10.
But like I said, for me, I give it 10, and right now I got no cons, and I've only seen the movie once, so that could change. But I just remember leaving and being like, I liked it better than the first one, and there's nothing I would take out. There's nothing like, oh, that should change. Nothing that should. Oh, Taylor.
You don't think it has an incredibly basic story?
Yeah, nothing that is the exact same as the first one, but. Oh.
I feel like,
I feel like it's a
At
new
times-
movie, and they kept they did exactly what a sequel needs to do. They kept the essence of the first one, and they put a complete new spin on it. And sequels, we see so many sequels that do not do that, do not live up. And for these guys, it didn't. But for me, it did that. It knocked it out of the park. Like it, especially being a comedy sequel too, because comedy sequels fucking suck. Hangover, Anchorman, Zoolander. Comedy sequels are super tough to do, and they
This
did
is
it
true.
very well.
I cannot disagree.
you know how sometimes when like I see like a trailer or something and you guys are like, Taylor, you're falling for their marketing scheme or whatever. I feel like now I'm on your guys' shoes and Travis's, and Travis, you're falling for the marketing scheme.
But the difference is, I feel like I brought up all these points, and then when you come, you're just like, I don't know, it just felt that way, and then.
When did you say you're on our shoes?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be like in your shoes. That also earlier you said off the top as opposed to over the top, and it just
Off the top, bruh!
It's these things that make me understand like what you're saying about this movie, because clearly you just think very differently than anyone else.
Oh yeah, you're in a completely different
I
alien world.
appreciate you very much, Taylor.
Well, Taylor, where can they appreciate us and be here when we review Lando one day? Not
Lando.
Obi-Wan.
really trying to rile me up.
I'm
here,
not
aren't you?
trying. It's working. Look at your face.
Oh.
You're beat red right
And these
now.
guys are teammates in the gauntlet. Fucking
Yeah,
jokes.
Hey, we put all that aside. We put all that aside when game time's on. But you know what?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you can find us and our Han Solo review coming up.
Well, that's true. Where
Um,
Lando's in it, and even in our fucking theater, who's in the before the movie thing previews? Who's the one
That's
showing
pretty
off?
funny.
Who's the one showing off the Falcon? The movie's called Solo, and Lando's showing
I
off
don't
the
know.
Falcon.
Maybe it's because it's his ship.
No, it's because they're like, oh, never mind. He's not that charismatic. Let's get this guy to do
I'm pretty
it.
sure it's ship because he has his clothes in his ship.
It is, but the thing is, like, he's not the main character in this movie.
Okay, boys, enough of this. Taylor, where can they find us?
They can find us in the search bar.
Merc A The
Skip Google.
Cantina.
Google is just, out there. We're ahead of the times now. Go to the Facebook, in the
No,
search
no.
bar. You're going to sign in your Facebook in. You're going to type in GeekVerse Space
Oh my
Podcast, space
goodness.
bar, not space.
Yeah.
And you're going to find all this awesome stuff. You're going to find the amazing Avengers Infinity War cover photo. And you're going to scroll down. And there's going to be sick thumbnails. There's going to be sick, polls. There's going to be sick topics.
Sick
Sick
polls.
news. There's going to be sick everything.
Yeah, interesting.
Thanks.
You've never really described it in such a
Sick way.
sick fashion.
Please do.
Whoa.
That would feel really good, actually.
You know, you'd be super sticky.
No,
and
yeah,
everything.
that would
not
be
be
good.
that would not feel good.
That's like
Ladies and gentlemen, go over to geekversepodcast.com where you can go to Twitter and Facebook. You can follow us and like us there for all our social media. We talk about the news that's happening. Whatever. We tweet the news. We post the news. We don't break
Yes.
the news. We don't have no scoops, but we let you know the news.
we try.
But we let you know the news that we're doing. We post our schedules. So definitely follow us there because E3's coming up. And if you want to stay tuned to what we're doing there, we'll have a light schedule. But the best way to stay on top of all that is our social media. Or just go subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud,
Tell your friends.
Stitcher, all that, because we're dropping lots of podcasts. Like the next 3 days, we got 3 podcasts coming out. You got Solo coming out.
Mhm.
You got E3. We got tons of stuff dropping. So, and if you really like what we do, head over to Patreon. You get Gauntlet matches early. You get a Rogue One commentary track early. You get Spider-Man Retro, which will be coming back soon for the non-Patreon people. But if you go there, you got like 6 or 7 episodes of Spider-Man Retro.
That's
So
a lot of content.
a lot of great, juicy, quality content. Only for $1 some of that stuff. $5.
$1.
$5 if you want the whole chimichangas.
$1.
One loony.
Or you
if
can
you're
just
in
do
Canada.
$5 and do it for 5 months. Right? That's how it works.
Well, no, if they pay the $5, they could just get everything in 1 month, and they could unsubscribe if they want. But if you want to support us and
True.
help us out,
Just do $1 a month as opposed to
Yeah,
one
you
dose
do-
of 5.
You don't spend the whole
$5
paycheck.
over the course of 5 months.
Yeah,
Because
but some-
we don't want to see anyone unsubscribe, right? So if you would do $5 now but then unsubscribe, I'd rather see $1 and you stay for 5 months.
fair enough. But sometimes they just want that juicy gauntlet title match.
This is true. I mean,
The
sometimes
$5
I
level,
throw
you
in
get that
$10.
high quality content. It's
Yeah.
all high quality content because we're high quality people.
It's because
I'm
we love
trying.
doing this. That's why.
We put in maximum effort.
Why you had to...
That's a studio name now.
Yeah, it is. That's
It
impressive.
is.
That's great.
And
I
Ryan
love
Reynolds
that they did
got a
that.
writing credit on this movie too.
Nice.
Good for him. And he drew all those crayon drawings in the credits of the movie.
Wow.
Did he?
Might
All his
be
own
that.
stunts too.
It
I
could
don't
be
think
true.
there's any reason to believe that.
You said it in a surprise, like, I could believe this kind of way.
I could initially, and then your answer to me questioning you did not
Yeah, I
convince
wasn't
me.
ready to talk more about that subject,
Thank you very much for tuning in. We will see you next week for the Han Solo review, and I promise you that one will not be boring. That's gonna be juicy.
Juicy.
Later, nerds.